back.
I'm back.
We are back. It took us 3 weeks to get back in the saddle.
I'm not here today. Sorry, I wasn't here last week, but the day you...
Where are you then?
I was going to say the day you would least expect me to be here
the
is
clock,
today.
by the way. The clock.
Oh,
We get
yeah.
back in the clock will be there.
You'd figure today was the day I'd miss. But no.
Yeah.
I'm back in the saddle. Thank you, Iggy, for filling in.
Yeah, it's been unique a couple weeks here, but we are here healthy, thankfully, and now in the final 2 weeks of the season.
Did you guys do remote last week?
We did, yes.
How'd it go?
It was 3 hours long.
It was remote.
Yeah, a remote of 3 hours long. Yeah. So, but we are in the final 2 weeks of the season. Weeks 10 and 11 upon us.
Registration open for spring.
That's right, which is now up and running officially.
But Eagle, correct me if I'm wrong. Is there a chance that players' ratings might go up or down before the end of the season or by the end of the season?
Well, thanks, Peas. This is a great segue.
Natural
What a
segue.
that is.
So, as many of you might be aware, and if you're new to Flag Plus, you might not, there is a player rating associated to your profile, and after every season, we reevaluate your score based on your performance over the past season. Because registration opened before the season ends, again, this is a very weird year because normally this doesn't happen. But because of that, we had to run the rating calculator ahead of time with a smaller sample size of data because not everyone has played 10 games.
Yeah.
Some of you have played maybe 4 games with all the postponements and cancellations and weird schedule changes. So because of that, the sample size of data is small, and therefore the information that the calculator processes is very volatile. So what we're going to do is at the end of the season, we're going to rerun the calculations all over again, and your score is going to be updated. For anyone who has played basically every game this season, the likelihood of you changing significantly is very low because we have a large enough sample size on you in order to figure out where you are. But if you've played very few games, maybe you had one really good standout game amongst the other ones, and again in the small sample size, or vice versa, you had really bad games over that small sample size, the chances are your rating will change more than not. That being said, it's more likely your rating will go down with a larger sample size because the only way that it stays where it's at is if you're continuously performing at the same level. So if you had a really good standout games, you have to have a lot of good standout games in order to keep that high rating up. So the more games you play, the more likely you are to fall off the cliff, if I want to call it that, so your rating would go down. So that being said,
it's the quality and quantity. You play a larger number of games, you're going to have a chance that you're not going to move up in the overall ranking. But if you play a small number of games and you do massively well, guess what? You're going to have a bigger chance of moving up.
Mo, are you a data or data guy? Would you say data or
I
data?
don't know. I say both.
I say data. I'm with Eagle on data. Eagle, I heard you say data. That's why I'm
it is
asking.
data, yeah.
And it's, for me, it's just because that weird dude from Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Right.
Was,
Of
Like-
course.
like-
That's what I was thinking of right now, actually.
Yeah.
Here's a very good example. January 12th, when would this have been? I want to say 2013. Might have been a little bit more than that. Mo Khan put up 4 touchdowns and 134 yards against Les Albatros. If you take that,
he must be a great quarterback.
Yeah.
if you take that game by itself, wow, that's a good stat. But then if you look at the whole season, in 9 games, you have 20 touchdowns and 16 INTs. Not so good.
Exactly. So we'll get that figured out. But as of now, officially, the spring season would begin.
You won that
June-
game, by the way, 27-25. 2014.
So the spring season would begin June 5th, that week.
Eric
June,
Thomas and Alex Russell with the carry.
Right. June 5th is when the season would begin.
Like a week after the season.
Season ends. So our
Jesus.
vacation is literally 3 days, and we'll see you fools.
Well, my
again.
vacation's also in the middle of next season.
I know.
So
It's crazy.
If you do register early, and before we rerun the calculations, we are going to reach out to you to just confirm your place in the division.
this
So
is especially
don't
true
feel
for
bad about it.
quarterbacks because quarterbacks might find themselves pushed up to a new division.
That's a hot topic debate.
No, everyone's gonna stop crying. I've been pushed up nonstop for like
I know.
3 seasons now.
I know.
Shut up and play.
updates to Eagle with the OCs and UR accumulations as we approach the final chapters of the regular season here, my friend.
Yes. So for those who aren't aware, we do have objectionable conduct and unnecessary roughness trackers in the back end. You can see how many you're at by going to our website under the content section and then the OC and URs area. So these are penalties which gets you kicked out of the game for 10 plays. If you get 2 of the same one in a game, you get kicked out of the game, and usually there's a report written about it. You'll notice right at the top over here, if you get 3 OCs or 3 URs or 2 of each, well, 4 cumulative, this results in a 1-week suspension. And for people that have already hit 3, they've already been issued their suspensions and have served them. For anyone currently sitting at 2, so for example, Tyler Stewart, Alex Farrell, Alejandro Fonte, Noah Bloom. You guys need to watch out. The list continues here, for example, because if you get 1 more of that one, you get suspended. And same thing happens if it's the last week of the season and you get a penalty in that game. That carries into a 1-week suspension for playoffs. So keep that in mind.
Let's say you go into the playoffs with 2 of 1 or 3 combined.
They
what
reset for playoffs,
So
but the threshold is much lower at that point for playoffs.
Okay, so we definitely have that figured out. And now the biggest question has been asked to me multiple times, asked to PZ and Eagle and to others in the FPF world. The biggest division of teams, and now we have our playoff format set for Division 6. Hallelujah, we figured it out after 8 weeks of negotiations.
So we kind of knew what we were going to do, although this is slightly different, and Eagle will explain sort of the ins and outs as we go through it. But we also don't want to give teams too much information in Division 6 because unlike other divisions, like Division 4 and 5, we split them in advance because we know more about the teams and there's more data regarding the caps. And so we were able to split teams ahead of time. We don't do that for Division 6 because there's so many unknowns, right?
Right.
Like, for example, having Caleb Faulkner throwing in Division 6 was a weird surprise, especially when his name was Caleb Rogers when he registered.
Or when you have the free agent squad 1 year go almost perfect 8-0, and then this year go perfect 0-9.
Yeah, they're not doing so well this year.
Which is fine. Like, that's, it's to be expected.
But it's the variability, right? Like, you don't know what to expect year after year, season after season.
We also don't know teams' strength of schedule, what that'll be like.
Of course.
We came up with a system where we split the teams prior to the playoff, kind of like NCAA will break teams off into sort of the main basketball tournament and the NIT.
Yeah.
Based on the strength of different factors. We have some factors as well. And we'll explain that. This is the third in 3 seasons. The third different way we've divided them.
And we've also learned from all the past experiences. So one of the big takeaways we had from the last time we did this was that one conference was potentially stronger than the other, which resulted in kind of a finals experience not being where we wanted it to be, and just one team being stronger than the other. Now, you can argue one team wasn't as strong as the other, one team just choked. Anyway, we can go back and forth on it, but that seems to have been like a message we heard from the community. So we're trying something a little bit different this time around. So I'm going to go back to the website here. We're going to go check out...
To be fair, the team that was supposedly weaker won the championship, though.
That's why. But that's what I mean, though, right? Like that.
But like they won the championship against a team that was stronger and had a harder battle to the finals. I mean, you still don't know what's going to happen, right?
So to remind everyone where we're at, both conferences, A and B, have East, North, South, and West divisions.
Nothing says the West like Conference A over there, boys.
What? No. East, North, South, and West. And then you have East, North, South, and West.
I know. That says West like the Conference A division, man.
What? Okay, shut up, Mo. So the way this works, when we go to the playoff standings tab, is that they're divided into the total conferences, Conference A, Conference B. The first 4 seeds are the divisional winners. So this is classic NFL style. If you win your division, you get one of the top 4 seeds for your conference. From that point onwards, 5 to 14 are ranked based off of our usual order. So points, wins, divisional record, points against, head-to-head, all the stuff is inside there. You can look at the breakdown in the tie-break info if you want to figure it out. And teams number 15, 16, and 17, as you can see in red, are eliminated from playoffs. Now, this doesn't update based on the percentage chance. So, for example, all 3 of these teams could still make it in, depending on what happens at the end with Lionhearts, etc. But just to let you know, our cutoff is going to be seed number 14 in both Conference A and Conference B. But this is where it gets fun, Mo.
Yes, I'm excited.
We are not drawing a line after team number 7 and saying split 50-50. We are doing some creative magic here.
This is
and
exciting
our
stuff.
graphite extraordinaire on the Flag Plus team, Duke, designed us this graphic to illustrate exactly what's going to happen. So we're going to switch over to its view. It won't have the team names as of this point, but it does have the positions in the same concept. So we have
Look at that, huh? The colors.
the divisional winners, 1A down to 4A and 1B down to 4B. They are going to move on to the Division 6 playoffs and occupy the top 4 seeds, as you can see on the right-hand side. Seeds 12A to 14A and 12B to 14B are also going to move into the Division 6 playoffs. So kind of like we call it like a punishment for making playoffs, but not by the skin of your teeth. So you get sacrificed to the divisional gods. But in order to compensate for the fact that maybe Conference B is stronger than Conference A, we're switching up the seeds. So 12, 13, and 14B are going to play in the Conference A grouping, and 12, 13, 14A are going to play in the B grouping. So we're swapping the bottom seeds, or swapping the top seeds, depending on how you look at it, to get those matchups that are differently.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that reality show, when they exchange husbands or wives, in that
Ultimatum or
ABC
whatever
show.
it is on
Yeah,
Netflix.
Exactly, yeah.
I heard of it.
I've not seen a single second of that.
Anyway. So carry on, Eagle.
I'm not a. I don't like reality television.
So then the question
This is
becomes,
reality
what happens
television,
for
we
the
are.
remaining teams? So, I mean, technically it's
that it is.
relegated is the term, but I mean, you're going to 6D finals. So same idea here. 5, 6, 7, and 8 are going to hold the top 4 seeds. 9, 10, 11 will take the bottom ones, but they will swap the conference again. So you'll have a better matchup. And just like in the most recent NFL playoffs, the number 1 seed, in this case 1A, 1B, 5A, and 5B, are going to get first round buys. And then it's 2, 7, 3, 6, 4, 5 type of breakdowns, and from that point onwards, it's going to be a bracket style for the end. So top team faces the lowest team, etc.
So reseed.
Yeah, reseed.
Yes.
No, the bracket's different.
I'm sorry, reseed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So and why is it, Eagle, that the middle teams are relegated, not the lowest teams?
So what we found was the want to tank your season to have an easier playoff run is too convenient for teams. So when you know you're not going to win the conference, you lose just enough to not be eliminated to try and get the bottom ones. That was our first experiment at this, and that's exactly what we saw happen when we
saw
announced
walk
in
in the
advance.
park finals. It was not enjoyable for
So,
anybody.
So in this model here, if you do well enough to qualify, but not well enough to actually be middle of the pack, we're punishing you for
get
doing
punished
that.
for tanking.
So I have a question to ask you, Eagle. So in this case that we have this format, which is pretty cool, 7th rounders who are in the 5th seed right now in Conference A, they have a 7-2 record at 14 points.
Yep.
So by this new format, they would be relegated to 6D then, correct?
They would be the number 1 seed in 6D Conference A.
All right. So Big Fat Bats, who have less points and less wins, would be in the higher division because they are the division winner.
The
right
division
now.
leader, yeah.
Okay, cool.
That way, there's some sort of weight to the conferences and so on.
Okay.
So Mo, this is where it actually gets interesting, and this is the exact point, right? So Big Fat Bats are 5-3-1 in the 4 seed. They would be playing the 12 seed from Conference B, which in this case is Cavalier du Rohan at 4-4. So you can make an argument that's not going to be an easy game for Big Fat Bats because maybe Cavalier is actually better than them.
Yes.
And you can make the same argument for Flamingos and arguably Stratton Oakmont when it comes to their matchups against FKU and the Spanish Inquisition.
I would say we can't, but that's fine.
But again, it's
You never know.
Look, this sticks and does well, or we have a melange of upsets and wins
But look, it rewards the teams who have regular season success,
of course.
and the teams that are in the lowest part of the brackets. It makes sense they have tough playoff matches too, right? Like
Yeah.
that's basically what sports is.
And the other question to answer here for new teams who may not know about this, what is the difference between Division 6 and Division 6D? Nothing. You still get a trophy.
6D
You
used
still
to
get
be-
some swag. You still get a production for your final. It still
Yep.
gets streamed. You
We
still
have
get
D
play-by-play.
just because it was originally the developmental division where it was all new teams went into it, and then the teams that sort of stuck around from previous seasons compete in Division 6. but we didn't get good results with that either. So
No,
we still
no.
kept the nomenclature, but you're right, Eagle. And now there's no difference. It's not even a higher or lower trophy. It's just a different trophy.
Yeah, it's
because the cap is the same. So
I mean,
it's
I
the
guess
same.
there's more prestige in getting
But
the
it-
Division 6
but
win.
not really, because 5A and B, like, there's a cap difference, right? So you're playing in a, by definition, a more competitive division. But Division 6 and 6D are essentially, they're identical. We're breaking them
it's
apart
parity.
later.
That's what
It's-
it is.
yeah.
That's what it is. It's the unknown parity that you have in Div 6. All right, let's dive into Div 6. So not many games.
It actually was a ton. It was one of the divisions with the most
yeah,
games.
Div 6 had the most games.
Yesterday, there was a ton of games.
So Dusters 2.0 FKU. I was there for the game at Loyola. A very chippy affair. The love loss was not endearing for these two
the
teams.
love
here.
lost was not lost list
No,
without
it
love,
definitely wasn't.
so to speak.
So
How the turntables.
yes, FKU bad loss because they kind of fell into the traps of
Oh, they
Dusters.
played 2 games.
Yeah, they played at Big Durfee afterwards, but
Wow.
in the FK, yeah, it was awful.
Sorry,
scheduling.
guys. That sucks.
I don't know who did the scheduling there, going from NDG to Big Durfee. But anyway, so this game with Dusters 2.0, they kind of fell into the traps, and both teams got under each other's skins. Mostly FKU getting irritated by Dusters, and there was a little bit of tete-a-tete afterwards, which again does not really, I'm not really happy about because you don't want that to happen.
Of course not.
But
that's the kind of team Dusters are, right? They're kind of that trap team. I don't think they're elite, but they're a team that gives everyone sort of a hard time, right? Like we've seen that throughout the season, and that's why. I mean, it's surprising just because FKU has shown that they're more than just false kings this season. But if you look at Dusters, they gave 7th rounders a tough game. They lost
Yeah.
by 2 points. They beat Maccabees by 4 points. They lost the Toon Squad by 3 points. They tied V-Town. Like this is a team that's played,
close games.
of their 9 games, 4 of them have been tight.
Yeah.
So they're not an easy out for anybody. They're one of these teams that we talked about. They're likely going to fall in the 6D bracket and actually give sort of one of the higher seeds a tough time.
Well, 5 of their games have been by 6 points or less.
Yeah.
This year. So and then even though they beat Henry Pisa Gang, who is fighting for their playoff lives as we speak.
Henry Pisa Gang and T Poland are the teams that they've and Wild Hogs are the teams they've blown out.
Yeah.
And like those are the teams you expect them to blow out, right? Like those teams are the lower part of the division.
Right, and look, they got Lionhearts next week, and that's a big one.
That
for
should be a game they win handily.
I mean, at least I don't have to drive from Loyola to Laval.
At least there's that. At least
Would you
That's
prefer
awful, guys.
driving from
No.
NDG to
No.
Laval or NDG to Bay Durfee?
well, it depends where Eagle's driving me. Like if he's driving, it's fine.
Well, Laval Bay be driving your ass out there, you know.
yeah, I'm not
so,
doing that myself.
Of course not.
I hate driving, so for me.
But I mean, also it's you finish your game, you have to like take off your cleats, get changed, get in your car, drive, then put them back on and everything. Like, no, I'd
for
rather
those who play in cleats, I agree.
I'd rather go to the bar.
The
and have
worst
a pint.
part is that Loyola, there isn't parking nearby unless you want to risk it, right, with tickets and stuff. So you got to walk like literally like 40, 50 yards to your car,
Oh no, there's a parking lot in the
Yeah,
back.
it's parking lot.
but you got to pay for the parking though.
Yeah, it's like $6.
I know, but some people don't realize that, right? Some people are like, oh, you know,
Also, so
We apologize to everyone who isn't an adult.
of course. Anyway,
but if you're not an adult and you like gambling, you got to think that if you park in that lot and don't pay, like it takes a few minutes to notice that your car is there, and then the tow truck has to get there. They got to call the tow truck. So like,
Are they going to tow?
I'm
you or
not
just gonna take
saying-
it?
no, they give you a ticket though.
But who's going to give
no,
you
it's
the ticket?
well, there's tow signs.
if
there.
it's
Yeah.
a private lot, I mean, they can't give you a ticket, right? They can only tow you.
Well, there's
yeah, exactly. It's
I
a
don't-
tow. It's because I've seen the signs. It's a tow. They're tow signs because
Yeah.
it's private property.
It is private property. Yeah, that's right.
So they can't give you a ticket. They have to tow you.
Yeah. So
Well, they were giving tickets on Wednesday when I went by.
but who?
but-
The security, Concordia Security.
yeah, but you don't have to pay that. It's not a real ticket.
Yeah, it doesn't go against your record or anything.
Yeah, I don't care about that. You're out of your mind, Concordia.
Anyway, so with
Stop
FK
sending me alumni stuff. I'm not giving you money.
I know. So FKU. Now we're at a point with them where coming off the bad loss to
But also a big
Dusters.
win. So
and a big win. Right?
both things.
They split 50-50 here, but
They also had to drive to Bay Durfee. Ugh.
well, they were the ones. They're the ones we're talking about.
But then Dusters went to Laval.
No, that's just to go to Laval. That's why.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Sorry about yesterday, guys.
Yeah, I
Sorry
know.
about yesterday.
Anyway,
Don't mean to ruin your 420s.
So-
that was rough.
FKU now. Where do you see them in the pantheon of the Division 6 teams that's going to the bracket of the higher end playoffs?
I do think they'll likely win the division. Eagle, if you can bring up the division standings, because I have the game logs. Look, what worries me is weird games like where they beat Wild Hogs by 6. Like that should be an easy win for them.
Yeah.
They beat Henri Pisai Gang by 5 points. They've had unnecessary close games, but they're still 7-2, and they have ability. What they seem to have sometimes is lack of focus, and that to me might punish them in the playoffs. I don't know if they'll lose a first round game because of that, but it might cost them before they get to the finals. Because I like the team overall. I think the athleticism is impressive.
Yeah.
I think that they learned a lot in a short period of time, which is what you want from low division teams. And I really like the receiving combination. I've talked about a lot in my article. Leo Diakomakos and Manny Bizogias. Noah Bloom also has come along. We mentioned he's got to be careful with those OCs and URs, but essentially they have a nice core. That's really worked to the benefit of Leandro Fonte.
In a one-off, are you taking them over the Thunder Buddies?
No.
So
100%.
here's where it gets a little bit interesting, okay? So in Conference A West, they're currently holding the 1 seed, but they have a game down against Flag Football Team, right? Because they only play 8 games, and they're 2 points ahead of them. So FKU has Big Fat Bats left on their schedule, which, by the way, is also kind of an important game for Big Fat Bats because they want to clinch the North potentially as well. Yep. But either way.
And being the higher division.
Flag Football Team has Tropic Thunder and Your Girlfriends Cheer for Us.
That's a tough couple of games.
And FKU has the tiebreak, the head-to-head over Flag Football Team. So if FKU win, they guarantee their spot. If they lose and Flag Football Team can win both their games or at least win one, tie the other, that's going to be a change in the number 1 seed in that Conference A West.
So it's a big game. Relegation then almost.
It'll be a big game for your government's cheer for us because I don't believe they're clinched yet.
Yeah.
And the thing is they're 2-5 for sure. But one thing to note is that they're giving up 28 points a game, which is not ridiculous for the lower teams in Division 6. Usually low teams in Division 6 give up a ton of points. So they're giving up less than 5 scores a game. So that means that they're likely in games. And Tropic Thunder is really good. So I think that serves FKU because I don't know if Flag Football Team can win both games.
All right. So among the division leaders right now with the 4 and A and B piece, who is the most vulnerable going into the final games into the playoffs that we will have coming up?
Spanish Inquisition have been up and down, but there's enough high division talent on that team that you think it carries over. With the Buck brothers and they have a really good receiver in Medric Lozon who played with me once this season. He's from MFL. He's he's the Terrebonne League. He's really good. And
by the way, just to interrupt you here, the only 1 seed right now that has clinched the 1 seed is Penetrators in B North. Everyone else is still kind of up for grabs. Tropic Thunder kind of has a good hold on their spot, but everyone else is still in contention. So Spanish Inquisition, Beer Knights, and Stormers are fighting for A East. Big Fat Bats and Dusters 2.0 are fighting for A North. Thunder Buddies and 7th Rounders are fighting for A South. FKU and Flag Football Team are fighting for A West. But
just like looking at who's in those positions now in terms of who's vulnerable, I don't.
Yeah, because it's not none of them are guaranteed essentially.
I don't think Thunder Buddies are vulnerable because it's the best team in the division.
High scoring offense.
Well, yeah, it's really nice to have a lot of unrated players from MFL with willpower on the team as well.
Of course.
That always helps. FKU have one of the easier games remaining, and they're gaming against Lionhearts. To me, the 2 questions I have are West Island Boys and
I like them a lot. I was going to bring them up right now. They're my favorite team coming in from this side of the division.
So, the concern I have is that they're not an elite scoring team. They're just good. They control the clock. They've scored 34 touchdowns. I guess they've scored more than I've given them credit for. So really, it comes down to one team. Mo. It comes down to one team. Look, I gotta admit when I'm wrong. It comes down to one team. Tropic Thunder depends who's playing quarterback, because when they have Michael Arsenault, they're very, very good. but when he's not there, it's not the same team.
So
And he's to me the front runner for two-way player of the year because he's thrown 30 touchdowns in 7 games, and he also has 11 interceptions.
the reason why
3 of them for touchdowns.
the reason why I would have the West Island Boys as my favorite team in this whole process.
That's not the question you asked me.
I know, but you mentioned them right now, and that's
Okay.
my team I'm watching out for because, as I said to Iggy last week with Eagle, their defense is phenomenal.
The defense is good, and what I was gonna say is early in the season, their offense wasn't clicking yet.
Yeah.
Which it seems like it's come on because as I noticed, I was like, wait a second, just scoring more than I thought. But the defense out the gate was really good.
20 INTs, and watching the game a couple weeks ago at Lachine, I believe they had played. It was Step Rose who've had a rough go of it this year. Had a tough loss, as well. But the team composition, like Zach Stacey, he is a chain mover.
Mhm.
Like on third down, that's their go-to guy. And the yards after catch is pretty good. Like it's not like 5-6 yards. Like this guy's getting like 10, 12, 15 yards after a catch and is a lethal threat. Skylar Bailiff,
I said in a previous, I think the show you were here.
Yeah.
To me, he's like the best receiver nobody knows in FPF right now.
And he's playing Div 2 as well with the
Yeah.
Incredibles. And he's really come on of late. I think he's going to be a legitimate threat for years to come.
But I will say that it's kind of a narrow target tree, right? It's those two guys.
That's it. There's a huge drop off from those two guys. But then for Nick Richard, right, for where he is as a quarterback, I mean, he uses his legs. The ingenuity's there. Like he uses his legs if he can't find anyone open. But I want to see him become not a true traditional pocket passer, but
use his legs to open the pass rather than
the ingenuity
beat
can
the
be there,
rusher.
right? But
Yeah.
like this, like if you're in the hole, just find yourself that guy. Like don't have to bail out every single time because that just breaks down the play. So I think for West Island Boys, whatever the matchup will be in the playoffs for them in a couple weeks from now, if they put it together, I think they can go 2-3 rounds in this whatever format they'll end up in early May for that season. So it's gonna be fascinating piece how this plays out for Div 6 and 6D.
definitely.
All right, on to Div 1 as we move on here in this show. It won't be a 3-hour show. I hope not. You think it's gonna be 3 hours
I
today?
really hope. There's a lot of NBA games that they need.
I
to
know.
watch.
You know what? We gotta speed this up here. Okay, let's.
I watch every
all right, let's
playoff
finish
game.
off the show. I know. Let's finish off the show now because I do have to eat afterwards. All right, Div 1, Div 2. So we're now down to the final sequence of games here for Div 1 and Div 2. So we look at the Incredibles. They take out the Outlaws in a win fest game at Loyola on Monday. Are you giving them any chance to get into the playoffs here, given that they face the Party Crashers in Gryffindor in their final 2 games of the season?
So that win was huge. Definitely.
But they almost choked it though. They
Yeah.
almost choked it though. Like it's weird. Like Pete started to control, but they always jump up to like big leagues in the first half, and then they just lose focus and they give up like points.
I think there's limitations on the team. It's more that, and then in Division 1 and 2, the defenses are so good and will adapt. That affects them. And like you go down to a guy like Stephen Harpersod, he's gonna be able to come back on you. And look, kudos to them for putting up 45 points on the Outlaws. The Outlaws defense hasn't figured it out all season long, so you did what you had to do. You put up the points because
But they put up 39. Well, they had a couple pick sixes though, right? So and they put up 39 in the first half, but I just don't know
But
why.
just today, you put up points on a team that's struggling to stop the bleeding, right? So like that's what you had to do. You couldn't get away with beating Outlaws by scoring 24 points, right?
Of course not. But this, for whatever reason, Greg Stern has to kind of diversify his offense a little bit here.
I don't. So I think the time away has made it difficult. Where when he's tried to diversify it, he hasn't made the reads the way that he's most comfortable. So they simplified the playbook, which is giving them better results, but it makes them more predictable as an offense.
Yeah, the bandwidth shouldn't be too large. Like it's very limited his bandwidth right now and what he
And
has.
but like the thing is, it's okay if Greg Stern has a learning season. It just sucks for now, but
At this level, it sucks.
yeah, like he's gonna come back, and I'm not worried about Greg Stern being effective in FPF. We've seen it before.
Yeah.
Is this one of those games where Stephen Harpersod's system got exposed by some veteran
No,
defenders?
I just think the fact that we were playing outdoors Loyola where it's pitch black and there's a wind.
Yeah,
storm
so
pretty much,
so
is
so
not
Stephen
the
Harpersod
easiest.
is not the strongest arm quarterback. He's probably the weakest arm quarterback in the division. Like the category quarterback I put him in is kind of like Corey Pecker and Rushdie Ben Abdicator, that his knowledge and his ability to scheme openness, and the elements make it more difficult for him than when he plays indoors.
And trust me, being a dome quarterback like Stephen Harpersod is, like a Kirk Cousins type of quarterback in the dome, when he goes to elements, it
Sucks.
It
Sucks.
It wasn't good.
And it's a team playing their first season in Division 2, right? So like
Yeah.
definitely they have some to learn there.
So the only reason I'm saying that is because based on the play-by-play, it seems like Harpersod, well, besides the fact that there's 2 pick sixes, they were both on first or early on in their own zone, essentially, right? Like off their line.
Yeah.
Which usually indicates it's like undercutting like a hook or an out route.
Well, this
and just taking
Nardone
it into
had a sense of where the football was going most of the time.
And like I've played against Vince Nardone a ton in FPF. He does quarterbacks that sort of play through a system. He does pick up on tendencies really quickly.
So KGP, they have a big win over.
Oh wait, to your question, Party Crashers and
yes,
what's the other game they have?
Gryffindor.
Yeah, it's tough. I don't think
they
they get by either. Party Crashers have improved and
well, they've slumped.
Well, sorry, yeah,
they've slumped.
But like
Gryffindor, I can't see them beating at all.
Gryffindor, they can't. Party Crashers, at their height, were playing well. I don't think they've slumped. They've played tough competition, and they've played well against Sergeant Smidzik and #NR, which are both much better teams than they are.
Well,
and Terror Squad too.
Let's not forget Apocalypse. If they win one more, they pretty much clinch.
Yeah.
So it's.
That's it. Party Crashers' last one was.
And Apocalypse have Terror Squad and KGP though. That's
not easy. Not easy.
That can go either way.
Yeah, that's not easy for Apocalypse. So
yeah.
it's,
I think Party Crashers has played better than you give them credit for. I know they've lost 3 games, but they lost them all by a score. So like they've been in games against really tough competition, but and Apocalypse can secure just by getting a win basically. So I think it'll be tough. I think Apocalypse get in either way. I don't think Incredibles win either of those next 2 games.
No.
Just to play devil's advocate here,
yes.
Outlaws have KGP, B-Ballers, and Urgence Medzik on their schedule.
No,
If they win 2 of those 3 games,
which
is
the one they win, Eagle.
I'm just saying. I'm saying as a possibility.
Yeah, they're not going
They
to
could end up in a 3-way tie and maybe have a chance to get the 8th seed, depending on what happens in Apocalypse and Incredibles last 2 games.
Sorry, I love your mind and how it's very expansive in thinking these scenarios, but that's like at the lowest totem pole.
Maybe they win one, and like I can see them maybe even upsetting KGP just because they kind of match up a little bit well against some of their athletes.
Brings up the point with KGP now, right? They're 5-1-1 Ps. They beat Terror Squad yesterday, and now they have 3 games left. If they run the table, they will be your number 1 seed for Division 2. So
yeah, we always disrespect them, and they always keep winning.
But remember, they had a bad loss. I think 2 weeks ago. And
it was to B-Ballers, but like B-Ballers is a really athletic team. Like so that's kind of where I said that like Outlaws might give them a specifically difficult challenge in that I know KGP is the higher seed and KGP is the better team, but Outlaws have more size and can run with KGP. But they also face God Skills, which is obviously not an easy. It's a crossover game, so it's not easy. And then they also face the Apocalypse, which I think KGP should beat them, but still, it's not a guaranteed win because you're playing against Rosenblatt, who's an established quarterback. So.
But they're getting healthier at the right time for KGP because they've had their roster, guys have not been there, and now they're getting back all the regular faces. Like Dylan Garber had a massive game against Terror Squad. He made Pat Jerome look a little foolish at times at Loyola on Wednesday night. But at 5-1-1, they control their fate, right? They can finish as high as the number 1 seed, given that Terror Squad and Urgence Medic both have 2 losses each, and with that many games left, they can really change the playoff format of who will face who in the 8 teams that will qualify. Bless you.
Spring allergies starting. I somehow put us out of focus with my giant sneeze.
And I guess we're calling someone up now.
Yeah, no, we're not.
Yeah, I was trying to figure.
We're waiting.
I sneezed so hard, Mo,
that
it called
the dial tone went
someone.
off. Gryffindor All Stars. Big matchup coming up, a rematch. That we'll have here, of course, for those who don't remember, Gryffindor lost a la Derek Carr to Henry Ruggs in 2019 when the Jets lost to the Raiders, or 2020, I beg your pardon, when the Jets lost.
Did you say it was a car crash of a game?
No, it wasn't that type of.
I was wondering because you mentioned.
So there's a rematch
Derek
now.
Carr.
There's a rematch now with Gryffindor at 3-5, All Stars at 6-1.
Yeah.
this could really shape up the playoff format because if the All-Stars were to lose, they would give Flag Sack a chance to jump in for the number 1 seed, and that would put them probably in a matchup with Braves. If Gryffindor do win, they may still have a chance to move up in the rankings, but this has a big
Well,
ramification.
Gryffindor have that last game against Incredibles that
Yeah.
I expect that to be one for Gryffindor.
Yeah.
Gryffindor
Gryffindor is very confident. They think they can run the table now. Which
they just went toe to toe with All Stars, right? And like to me, that's a coin flip game. They put it 58 against Flag Sack, which again doesn't care about defense.
No, it's like this score, please. We'll
Just keep scoring.
this score.
But that's the downside is sometimes you only quote unquote put up 32 points.
Of course.
They played a tight game. Dan Lazara played a cleaner game than Kevin Wyeth, but Kevin Wyeth he does that thing where he manages the game. He knows exactly how many possessions are remaining. He knows how to put his team in a position for success. And he did that. I've seen him. There's so many times I've seen him do it.
We talked about it last week, right? The blown coverage to Chris
because we played the Henry Ruggs highlight clip when he blew by the Jets to score the game winning
which, by the way, copyright claim by the NFL. Thanks, Mo.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm surprised Roger Goodell
if
was
you
watching
want to
this
see
show.
Henry Ruggs go fast, there's other clips you could have used.
Yes.
Yeah, but Mo gave me that one.
Oh.
So.
Yeah, I gave that version of it. But in that case,
I love that in Iggy's article he posted the clip to the podcast.
And yeah, you can't embed.
And you can't watch it. But he left the link.
Poor Iggy, man.
He left the link.
Poor Iggy.
He's had a rough year, man.
He's had a rough media year this year for FPF. But so in that case, for Dan Lazara, we know scoring points is the choice of method here to win games. But does he need to slow it down then and try to maximize clock and maximize plays so you don't give Kevin Wyeth, as he did that 2 plays that Wyeth used to score?
Maybe it's tough. More like I've seen so many situations where, like, first of all, Kevin Wyeth is the guy who normalized taking the timeouts in the first half, right? Because you need the extra plays in the first half. You don't know if you'll even need them in the second half. So why waste the timeouts, right? Like, so he's the guy who normalized that in FPF.
Especially
despite
coming out of the
knowledge.
second half, you have to start off with the ball.
And
right?
that's the thing is like
sandwich
there's so many
points.
times I've seen him get 2 extra possessions by essentially using the timeouts and then starting with the ball in the second half. And how do you beat the best quarterback who ever played FPF when he gets the ball twice more than you? Right. So like in this game here, All Stars are the home team. I would imagine they choose to give the ball to Gryffindor, so they have that possibility. So the end of the first half and how Dan Lazara manages that, to me, is going to be key. And we've seen Dan Lazara also, by the way, manage games incredibly well. There was a game, I don't remember against who, it was a few years ago, where he had there was 5 plays remaining.
Yeah.
And he burned 3 plays before he burned 2 plays before scoring on third down, only leaving 2 plays, although this game 2 plays is too many.
Yeah.
But just to say he's also a guy who considers this as well. So it's not leaving a team with 2 plays, that should be a winning game, right?
In theory, yeah. I wish we had those ESPN percentages. I don't know if you see it online where the graphic comes up.
Yeah, like
it's like 90%
win probability.
Yeah, 90% with a minute to go, and then it jumps up to 100% when you win.
We had a conversation this week about predictive stats. So maybe we'll have win probability.
Carlo?
No, it's not.
No,
Carlo.
it's win probability.
We would never give that to Carlo.
Never.
I have an interesting question for you since we just talked about
What
the
is your interesting
Incredibles
question?
Outlaws playing outside. The next game that All Stars Gryffindor are going to play is inside Lachine, so
Sunday
it's not
night.
a case. But had this been an outdoor game, who do you give the advantage to?
I would give it slightly to Wyeth because Wyeth has a more of a history playing a lot of outdoor.
Dan played tackle.
Right,
outdoors.
but in the context of flag football, touch football, Wyeth is playing.
Touch doesn't matter. Stop pretending touch matters.
Well, not anymore.
Soft
now.
sport.
A slight edge. I'd say 55-45. I don't know if that's a slight edge.
To me, everything about this game is a coin flip. Everything Mo said is wrong, and it's a coin flip.
Well,
we're going to go to 35 plus.
who are you calling? Oh, Carmen.
Carmen Felice.
Okay,
Later for 35 plus. You know this.
I know, but I'm saying that was later on the show.
He's live, by the way.
Oh,
You can say
Carmen.
hello.
Good evening, gents.
How's it going, bud?
Things are well, as well as
How's
can be.
the recovery coming along, my friend?
I'll let you know tomorrow. Got an eval with the orthopedic surgeon. Perfect world. The cast comes off, and we're transitioning to a walking boot. So we'll see how that goes.
Is this like a Kobe Bryant type of rehab? If you remember Kobe's last year, he tore his Achilles heel, and
So
came back
is
with a
Carmen
monster.
going to Germany for experimental surgery slash
Perhaps,
steroids?
yeah. I don't know if he is or
Is the
not.
question.
Already had the surgery. It wasn't experimental. It went quite well.
That's good,
Like
man.
I said,
Do
we'll
they
see how
still
it's-
use
how
like an
it's healing.
actual like painkiller to put you to sleep or anything like that, or do they just pour scotch down your throat?
A little bit of both. No, so they actually numb the entire body with epidurals, just as women take when they're pregnant, except there was 3 of them. And then they
Triplets.
inject additional freezing into the leg that's going to be operated on, and you're awake throughout the entire procedure.
So lots of scotch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
There
not
was
enough
lots
to
of
put you to
scotch
sleep.
afterwards,
though.
yes.
Yeah. It's part of the healing process.
All right, Carm. So look, we know you've been scribing along here for 35 plus. We're entering now the final stages of their season. What's your takeaways from the regular season now going towards the playoffs?
That the regular season meant absolutely nothing.
Mhm.
If you saw the results from last night, it was all upsets. Any predictions went out the window. The Shenanigans, who have looked uncomfortable and just uncoordinated all season, came together and knocked off number 1, Monster, which was Jay Ulley's back, came out, first play of scrimmage, throws a bomb down the sidelines to Darren Costello, catching Monster sleeping. Monster marched back. Very first play of the next offensive series, Jay Ulley flings another deep one to Darren, stopped on the 1. So they came together. They looked good. You had JMJ upset FPF, which I never would have thought happened. You put an asterisk there as Yanni Learer was missing, and he's obviously, quote, the big man for that offense, and he's a large dude. It
And
didn't
he's
look-
only played against them this season. The only
well, no,
games
he
he's
played one more game. He played
Oh, he
one more
did?
game.
Okay.
He did. He played a different team for his 4th game to qualify for the playoffs, and then didn't show up for the playoffs.
I
And,
thought
Rosen-
he just hated them. I thought it was like a personal thing.
And Rosenblatt looked a little flat without him.
Yeah. Well,
So-
he's been Rosenblatt's like comfort blanket since he started
joined
at
at the
FPF.
hip, those two guys.
Yep.
When we look at pacemakers and sort of the run they've been on, what is it that anyone else can do, given their dominance in tier 2?
Oh, there's no one in tier 2 that can stay with them. There's a couple of reasons for that, and I've said it several times in the articles. There's no one on the 3 draft teams that can rush Jason Rossi.
Mhm.
So he's always got that escape hatch anytime he wants it. He can take off on anyone. There's literally no one who can rush him. 2, and this is the disadvantage or the unfairness of putting a real team into a draft league. They don't have anybody to hide. Like in the draft league, there's players that sign up and you have to put them on the field, and generally you'll see them match off against each other when you're lined up on offense and defense. The pacemakers don't have those holes. All they've got are athletes, and there's no one to hide. So when they
And
get
athletes who've
matched up
played
against
together
some of these
before
players,
as well.
and they've played together for years, so you got
Yeah.
the communication that works well. I mean, obviously the Rossi boys and Chris Brockwell have been playing together on multiple teams through the past 7 or 8 years. Scott Binns has been, and he stepped up big last night. He was huge. Has been with the Rossi boys for at least the last 5 or 6 years as well. Yavar Shrafi has been on that team for a while. It's a solid core.
Can you point out any weaknesses then for these teams such as pacemakers and where they might have some vulnerability going into the final weekend of game?
Sweep the leg.
Yeah, take out Jason Rossi's legs until someone finds a rusher, and JMJ doesn't have it. So unfortunately, no one's made Rossi uncomfortable, and until that happens, he doesn't need to force throws. Now he's missing Brockwell. Brockwell had a little incident a few weeks ago where he's got actually damage to one of his hands. He might actually be medically cleared to play for the finals, and if that happens, then really, I want to say forget about it. I really can't see JMJ. And the opposite holds true. The pacemakers can rush anyone. Between the 2 Rossi boys and Brockwell, they've got 3 rushers that can stay with anyone else in that tier. So it's that old, you can't make Jason uncomfortable, but they can turn around and stop anyone from running.
I've been a old age outlaws apologist from the beginning. They got off to a slow start, but they've since won 5 of their last 6, I believe, including last night's game. What's been different for them during that stretch?
Well, if you look at the last 4 games, it's been the Chris Hope show.
Yeah.
He's
So a
fun
little
to
bit of-
watch.
There's a little bit of controversy there. We'll leave that alone for now. But he's been leading the team on both sides of the ball. If you look at the number of knockdowns, and his pass defended are almost always on 4th down. Like, you don't track that as a turnover,
Mm-hmm.
but he's got a lot of 4th down knockdowns that are just as important as an INT. He's, playing that safety blanket back there at center field, so he takes away a lot of the deep balls. He took one away from Gino last night. And then on offense, he's been a playmaker.
With shenanigans and old age outlaws, Carm, you mentioned Jay Eldy before. How big of a boost from a football standpoint is he for that team? You know him very well. I know him very well. He brings a different dimension to that quarterback position for this shenanigans roster.
100%. And I was chatting with a couple of the guys before the game, Shane and Jason Prince, and they were like, hey, we have our quarterback back. And it brings a little bit of swagger when you've got your guy, and it looks like Jay's recovered from leg injury. He was moving in the pocket. He had a couple of nice runs, made a couple of people miss. And when he's playing with confidence, I mean, he throws a great deep ball. Darren and Shane went and got some for him yesterday. Darren is a very underrated player, extremely fast, consistent hands. I'm not going to say he's got hands of stickum, but a very underrated player. If you're not paying attention, all of a sudden you've got Shane Williams, you've got Jason Prince, you've got Darren Costello. It's all of a sudden it's a dangerous offense. Like early in the season, I was on their bandwagon saying this team probably player for player has more talent than anyone else. If you look at them, they just never put it together until, unfortunately for Monster, last night.
Yeah.
Carm, we were talking with Sarah Parker last week, and we were talking about their playbooks, especially for the women's division, how the teams know each other. You having been in the league for, I want to say 20 years now, but it's been a while
Since day one.
Yeah. How does the 35-plus playbook or the knowledge of the game impact the way the game is played? Do you find like a lot of the trends from the standard adults division in the defenses and the new style, I'll call it the Joey Taylor offense almost, does that kind of perpetrate into 35-plus, or is it called the old school men's playbooks that you used to have that kind of come over and people are familiar with them?
A lot of us are all tackle players, so if you want to see our playbook, and talent level hasn't dropped off that much. Maybe a little bit of the speed is varied off, but just watch, Flag One sack play, watch the Braves play. It's a tackle playbook. It's not the dink and dunk. We don't, it's not, I know I love Jeff to death, but Jeff Rosenblatt is the Joey Taylor, much taller and bigger Joey Taylor with the dink and dunk.
But
and
it's that new age FPF, right? Like that's, intermediate
it's
passes.
It's the
West Coast
non-traditional
offense.
quarterbacks. These guys who have not played the quarterback position outdoors.
The
Who have
traditional
never had
quarterback.
to. Well, they've never had to throw a 40-yard out to gain 7 into the wind.
Yeah.
You take a lot of the indoor quarterbacks, put them on a wide field, a little bit of weather, and I wish you well. It's like an NFL or a U.S. quarterback when they come up here and then they learn what it's like to try and throw a wide side out, and they're like, that's a pretty big field.
In the CFL, like standard, yeah. Carmen,
So,
sorry,
I'm
go
not
ahead.
sure if it's old school. It's just more the guys who have played tackle.
Well, I think what Eagle means was like when we started playing, when Eagle and I started playing, that was the predominant style. Whereas like now that's sort of still the predominant style in the higher divisions, but sort of
Well, if it doesn't work for you,
mid-tiers
you
is-
can't play it.
Yeah.
I've watched your game develop, and you've gone into a system that suits what you do well,
yeah.
and that's why you've had success. If you're trying to play a system that doesn't match your physical talents,
Then it won't
that's
work.
the coach.
Exactly.
That's the coach, and that's your offensive coordinator. You need to switch things up, and if you keep trying to do what you don't do well, obviously you're not going to have fun. Eventually, you're going to stop, and that's where you've got to learn to adjust to what you do well.
Looking now towards championship finals, which is next Wednesday at Big Durfee. You got Old Age Outlaw Shenanigans, Pacemakers, JMJ. We'll start off with the appetizer or the opening sequence here. Old Age Outlaws Shenanigans. What is the key in this game for either side to win this championship?
Does Jay throw with the authority he threw last night? It's the first time this year that I've seen him step into the ball and really throw the ball well. We played him the first 2 games of the regular season, just the way the schedules worked, and he wasn't throwing like that. He was not, throwing with the authority that he threw last night. When he threw deep, the ball fluttered. Last night, the ball did not flutter. So I don't know if he was. I didn't talk to him about it. I don't know if maybe his legs were bothering early in the season before he had to step away for a bit. Again, he's a lot like some of the more traditional quarterbacks, the tackle guys. We throw with our legs. We step into the things, and when you take that away, the ball doesn't come out with the same zip. The ball was coming out.
And your mind, no matter what happens, like your mind still acts as if you can, right? So like he's still going to attempt those throws even if his legs aren't under him. Right?
And it flutters, and it gets picked off.
Pacemakers, JMJ, what is the key in this matchup next week?
Honestly, if Chris Olsen can slow things down, and that's what he did last night. He slowed the entire game down. He was running literally every play. Even when he wasn't able to run, he bought 15 seconds back there. The FPF were not able to rush him with any success at all. He bought time all night, which limited, Jeff Rosenblatt's offense. They didn't have the number of possessions that they normally do. They're a very high-scoring team. They normally get things done quickly. They didn't get offensive opportunities. And it was funny because 3 of the games last night were just nail biters, like who's going to have the ball last. It was fun to watch, other than the fact that I couldn't actually play the game that I was supposed to play.
That's true.
Carm, I just have a little compliment for you. You're the only person I see not using a virtual background and putting an actual background behind you, so I commend you for doing that.
Oh, I just assume that's the view outside his window.
Yeah, that is his castle out there.
I thought he lived in a magical forest. I mean, way to pull back the curtain.
That's actually the Hogwarts castle from the backdrop. I rotate them behind me. I do a lot of virtual training. I'm normally a public speaker, but COVID has shut things down, so I do a lot of in office, what have you. And my boss always said, Carm, your office is so busy. So rather than doing the blurry background where your head fades in, what have you, I actually went online and bought a bunch of backdrops. One is like a roaring fireplace. Now there's a bookshelf. I got the Harry Potter one, just to shift things up a little bit.
I like it.
Carm,
Yeah, see, we're stuck doing this like green screen garbage and everything.
What do you mean? This isn't a real background, Eagle?
Yeah,
Like, this isn't a.
This is our-
We're in a garage.
Yeah, in a shipping container or what? Look at that! Oh my God, what is this? Anyway, Carm, speedy recovery, my friend.
Take care.
Take care of yourself, man. Thanks so much. A great job this year on the articles, and look forward to reading your recaps coming up in the next week or so.
Appreciate it, guys. Take care. Have a great night.
Have a good one, dude.
All right, take care.
Carm Police, a legend in this FPF world of ours,
Yep.
on with us to talk about 35 plus. Excellent. On to Div 3.
I like the way you handled it, real quarterbacks.
Real quarterbacks out there. That's how we roll. In my time, the quarterbacks were using their legs. But anyway, on to Div 3.
There was something interesting you said about how you have to have a playbook that suits your
Skill
talent on the
sets,
field.
that's right, yeah.
I'm like, but as you're getting older, can you still run those post corners? Can you still run those wheels? Can you still run those smashes?
Maybe at a closer
Which
range.
what I find interesting about 35 plus is the arms haven't fallen off the way I thought
all,
they would.
yeah.
Like those guys can still rifle, other than Jeff Rosenblatt, can still rifle it. Mostly because Jeff never could rifle it.
No,
but
he's not that type of.
no, but that's literally what Carm was
It just
saying,
makes the
right?
Roethlisberger room look all that much worse. Now that I think
Yeah,
about
right.
it.
Yeah,
That's a dude who really didn't take care of himself.
Jeff. Well, I told him this. You look like the Gonzaga player Drew Timme.
Okay,
If you Eagle, if you don't mind googling.
I do mind.
Yeah, thank you very much.
he's just a ginger white dude.
Yeah, Google Drew Timme Gonzaga. and-
Oh
and
yeah, I
action
know.
shot.
I remember this guy.
Also, Google ginger white dude and put up both those pictures.
Oh, you mean Matt Bonner?
I am right where I belong.
Clearly, he's listening to Kermit the Frog.
ESPN's running Sesame Street commercials.
Perfect.
Apparently.
All right, on to Div 3 as Eagle gets that lined up here. I'm going to go with this question here because I saw him play this week. Ravi Bostapin of Speed Academy. He is explosive. And Sheesh had no answer for him.
He's
unreal.
like a U Sports player, right? Wasn't he? Or wasn't he? Did he play
Seja,
basketball?
Yeah, but his
Seja basketball,
well,
yeah.
and look who his sister is.
Yeah.
The lineage of athletes is phenomenal, but this kid is unreal.
I mean, Thomas Couture would like a word as best receiver.
But explosive. I'm not talking about best. I'm talking about most explosive.
Thomas Couture is like he's just a downfield threat, right? Like we talked about it before, right? Why his receptions and targets are so lopsided is because he only runs deep routes for Mangoose. But Rabi's out of this world. I saw him early in the season. So like where, for example, Sean Submergin is like a ball winner in the air, and the way that Anthony Crackwood is sort of just a really good route runner.
Yeah.
The top three, if you look at yards in Division 3, Thomas Couture, Rabbi Bostapen, and Adam Rosen are just burners. That's what they do.
He's Tyreek Hill.
But those three to me
Yeah.
are that. They're that type of receiver for their team.
You know, and
They're
look,
top off the defenses, go get it.
it's a good question though, right? Because
Did you just compliment the question you asked?
no,
me?
it's
a good question, Mo.
No, it's a
Good
good
job
question.
asking
It's a
it.
good question of Thomas Couture
Yeah.
and Roy Bostapen, right? Of receiver of the year, I think Couture has a leg up on that award.
Well, but Anthony Breeze's 18 touchdowns is massive.
Right. So, but that's
and
it.
AG Gomes too. Like it's tough. It's one of the tougher races. I'm happy I'm not a voter.
It's splitting hairs here at this
Yeah.
point, right? But Bostapen, for what he brings, it's like he can turn a 5-yard hook into a 35-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
Well,
what
it's
he
that.
has.
It's that he's going to be catching either deep patterns over the top or taking a quick pass and bringing it upfield.
And he did this in outdoor weather, and he still dominated. It's like he left tired marks on the Concordia football field.
But I think that the outdoor weather is tougher on the defense than it is on the offense, because the offense knows where they're going,
It
right?
should be.
Like I'm not talking about throwing the ball, but just I'm saying from a route running perspective.
Yeah.
Eagle, what do you're a defensive dude. What do you think?
Um,
What's weather better for?
So I think weather is better for the defense because it's up to the offense to drive the ball downfield. So if both teams are suffering from weather conditions, the defense wins by default, right?
Right.
If you can't advance the ball, the defense succeeds in their mission. So I always look at it from that perspective. And then from you can't get to the spot on the field you have to cover. Well, that's the problem with your defensive call against the weather, right? Versus the receiver can't get there because it's slippery. Well, then the offense flutters. So I look at it as weather favors defense. And I'm pretty sure the Patriots agreed with me when they ran 53 times in a game.
Right. On December 9th.
Is it, or is it just that Mac Jones is not talented?
We'll find out year 2
Again,
without
been
Josh
saying it.
McDaniels. All right. So speaking of Speed Academy, they're in a chase of the Killer Bees for the last playoff spot. Bees are 5-3. Their final 2 games are Bless and Silent Ticklers. Not an easy schedule for them.
Speed Academy have an easier path.
They definitely do. It's also, Bees have the tiebreaker over Speed Academy, but do not play Mangoose for during the regular season. So, are you comfortable enough to say that Killer Bees will be your 6th
No.
seed?
No, I'm not. I think Speed Academy might. Speed Academy have Mangoose, who's right ahead of them in the ratings. They're equally.
Neck
The
and
skill
neck.
level's about equal,
Yeah.
right? And then they face Pastor Prime, which now in the past I've always said Pastor Prime will struggle with fast teams. That hasn't always been the case. It's finally caught up to them. The thing I had been saying about them for 4 or 5 years finally proved to be the case. That they're struggling to keep teams off the
You
board.
finally proved yourself right.
Yeah. Listen, man, if you just stick with it, take long enough, you'll eventually
You
get
stuck
right.
to your morals in this
Yeah.
process.
But I think Speed Academy will make the jump absolutely.
I know Dan Lazaro, who we're gonna have on next week. I hope he's really high on Killer Bees. He goes, don't sleep on them, right? And
I just think the path is tougher. Like that's all it is.
and
I don't think it's a talent issue.
no, but
They're one of the lower rated teams, right? They're not as good as the top teams, and at the same time, they have a tougher path ahead. That's all it is. Like it's not, we're not hating on them or anything.
No.
Just Blessed is really good, and Silent Ticklers are better than the record.
fight, right? And speaking of that, right, the number is 6-2 teams on that side of the division in Conference B, and we have a boatload here. If you can get the schedule up here for those.
If he stops playing Kermit the Pokemon.
Frog over there. So look, you got Expendables, JYD, ECW, Silent Ticklers, Thor's Hammer, all at 6-2. The Bees are 1 game behind, so in theory, they could join this party by this week, if anything.
But again, I think like, do you think they have a chance against Blessed?
No.
And then,
The other side of this is there's the North and South conference breakdowns too, right, for the top 2 seeds. So that is also going to play into the weird mix to try and figure out who's going to take those top seeds.
Right, and the question that I have for you, Pease, is that when we look at the playoff standings right now and where we're at with the number of 6-2 teams, From what you see right now, how many teams do you see at 8 wins, 7 wins, or sticking at 6 and qualifying as a 6-4 team?
There's a lot of math in that question.
There is a lot of.
So ask me one math question at a time.
So how many 8-win teams are there?
That
You're going to say this team or teams
blessed
will-
for sure.
Well, no, not blessed. I'm talking about Conference B though, because you got
Conference B?
look how many teams are 6-2 right
Look,
now.
there's gonna be a lot of cannibalism, but I think we'll end up with 2.
Yeah, so for example, Expendables are playing Thor's Hammer, so that's going to be potentially a split there
Or a
as one
tie.
of the games.
Or a
Or it
tie.
could be a tie.
Could be tough.
Killa Bees are playing Silent Ticklers, so that could be a weird thing that works itself out too for the breakdown. And let me just check Junkyard Dogs. They are playing Expendables, so that could also be a breakdown. And Easy W are playing. No, they don't care. So they I think Easy W is probably the only one that's actually more clear on a path to get 8 wins because they have.
Well, but I think just from the games you talked about, I think Silent Ticklers are underway to getting to 8 wins. I think ECW.
They have a lightweight and bearskins, so that's.
How vital is that buy for the top 2 seed on that side of the conference? Because that is a war of death. 3 versus 6. 4
Well, and
versus
Conference
5.
B is rough. Conference
is
B is
not
one
gonna
of
be
the
easy.
most competitive divisions in FPF across the board.
Yeah, in all of FPF. That's right.
Yeah.
And I see maybe one team being 8 wins. See, Junkyard Dogs, I
No, I
still
think
have
there's two.
faith in them. I still have faith in JYD.
So the thing is, JYD, it's whether or not they get by Expendables, right? And Expendables haven't been the same since the Carmen Palice injury.
No, but they're playing
still
with house
winning,
money,
though,
They're
but-
playing with house money with Carmen Palice, with Gino DeFazio as the quarterback now.
But I think like for him to get by Junkyard Dogs is a bit of a challenge, right? I don't think it's wild to say that.
yeah,
And I think Les Malades will struggle against them. Although Les Malades, they play every game so tough.
they do.
They're annoying.
They
There's-
do.
And like I say that with great respect because I've had about 10 games in my history against Les Malades. It's tough.
Right.
It's always a tough game.
More disappointed in Sheesh or touch it or catch it for not being a major threat on their side of the division.
Well, I mean, like you still don't want to face Sheesh in playoffs, right? Touch It Catch It just started off kind of weak, and they're kind of coming on now, right? So I'm not really disappointed by either. I think both advanced past the first round.
I'm a bit
Like
disappointed.
there's a huge delineation between the top 4 teams in Conference A and the bottom.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, it's not the it's not like Conference B where there's monsters galore everywhere, right?
But I think the best team in the division is in Conference A.
Blessed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've thought that from day one, basically.
Yeah, but I wonder though, Pease. Like, I mean, look, they're gonna have some tough games, or game at least, if not games.
Bearskins, Killabees, Bearskins?
Well, I mean, the playoffs, right? Whoever they face,
I
whoever
was
they
like, wait a
face,
second.
right? Whoever they
Yeah.
face, but you wonder, right? Like, you know, if they
But I
see-
think the 2 teams that can legitimately challenge them are actually Sheesh and Touch It Catch It.
right, and they can face one of those 2 teams in the second round of the playoffs with the bye, right? So, I wonder who is a better matchup for Bless. Sheesh knows them very well, and speaking to Andrew Langbert a while ago when they lost them at St. Leo, he goes, "They know us, like we know them, but they know us very well and what we do well." And
And they're slightly better, right? So, like,
yeah,
it's not like Langbert doesn't have sort of the element of surprise, and at the same time, they're missing that one dude to really get them to compete at the same level as Bless,
Kevin
right?
Smuda.
Well, but that's it. But like,
I
they don't
know.
have that. They don't have
I
that
know
guy.
Kevin Smuda type of dude, yeah.
You know, and
Ariel Brady is banged up right now, so who knows how healthy
and
he'll be.
and Sheesh came into the season without Dondre Borden,
Yeah,
right? That's their guy. That's their
it's a talisman for them.
you know, and so that changes things, and like yeah, because imagine adding to Vincent Benjamin and Mathieu Lapage, you also have the low rated star player in
Yeah.
Dondre Borden, right? Like whereas like you know Blast added James Langshaw.
Are you cracking right now? Is your voice cracking right now?
I've been talking so much last few days, man. Like
It's cracking, huh?
yeah, it's been a long season, Mo.
Puberty, my friend.
I wish I'd get my first heart on.
Well, don't pull legs over here and talk 3 hours straight over here.
Yeah,
huh?
I know. But that's the thing is like that's the thing that Bless did was sort of add some lower division, high talent.
Yeah.
Where Sheesh, that's the thing they've always done really well, but they're missing that one piece.
Yeah, look, Bless has the MFL pipeline too, right? They can bring in some guys who are not automatically ranked high enough, which can work to their benefit. So,
Well, and that's Will Power, James Langshaw, Jafar Hassan.
Exactly.
That's the entire team,
exactly.
basically. Dave Gutkowski, who's very underrated in FPF.
Yeah. On to Div 4A and B. And looking at LBB and the playoff hopes, it's definitely on life support right now, Peas. They got Centaurs and Sparrows Cougars coming up in the final 2 games. So one game at a time now. They're 1-7, I believe, if I stand correct on that.
You're correct.
What has to go right for them to beat Centaurs coming up this weekend?
You want the easy solution?
Well,
Put Minton Tide on defense because he doesn't play defense with them.
and rush Jordan Rossi?
It doesn't matter. Put him on defense. He's the best defender on your team. Like
No, he's athletically gifted, 100%.
he's the best defender on this team.
But why is he not playing defense, though?
He doesn't. He just doesn't play defense when he plays quarterback. That's kind of his thing. I don't know if it's like a team structure thing where they just have too many players. I don't know if it's the stretch thing of when I'm quarterback, I don't want to be thinking about that. They have when Philanger is there, that's kind of mitigated.
Yeah.
But he hasn't played a lot. So that's 2 tough games, though, man.
It's not easy, man. I just
Like Spurs Cougars are they've played a lot better than I thought they would.
Santino Sparango's playing very well, and that's the next question I was going to ask you about
Dude's a
Sparanga.
baller.
Like,
Dude's
he's
a
killing
baller.
it with Reeds, and he's doing it big time now with I think 12 touchdowns, I believe, now with Cougars as you speak. So, he's came in there taking over for Emilio Adeluca, went down early in the year with an awful knee injury, and Sparanga has really elevated this team's profile on offense for what he does with his arm and legs.
Yeah, so if we look at what happened with because Emilio Adeluca was sort of like their first the main hope on the team because he's really good. We've known him for a long time.
Right.
And then when he went down, we're like, okay, well, do they turn to Alessandro Barazzoni? But he hasn't played a single game despite being on the roster. Do they turn to Dylan Laou? He wasn't as successful. And again, a guy who's on the roster not playing a ton of games. So they have a lot of guys in and out of the roster. Vince Pisano was a guy I thought they might bring in a quarterback, but I'm like, man,
He's not ready to
Vince
play.
is not ready for Div 4 yet. I don't think.
No, it's
So
speaks
so
too
who's
much.
the guy? And then Santino Sparagna, he's a big question mark because he hasn't played FPL for a long time. So, but then he comes in and his ability to run and to throw and to create throwing lanes with his legs and because that's the thing is it's not just that he's a running quarterback. He's completing 60% of his passes.
So you're buying into the Sparanga.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've seen him play. I've played against him. He's really good.
I think the part that's really
yeah.
interesting about this roster is that there's 20 names here, but they actually do have a playoff eligible roster, which is good.
Yeah.
I think that's the part that's also
It's good
surprising.
news
Because
for
normally
us.
you'll see someone will squeeze into playoffs, but the actual team that is eligible is a mismatch of players. This is actually going to be a good
sure.
roster.
Because
Lazio.
the 2 Sparagnas, Nick Rapini, Anthony Sigia, Vince Pisano, that's a good team.
It's a good team, and if they get a good matchup, a favorable matchup in the playoffs, and they can move up, right? Because they're 3-5 right now. They can finish 5-5, the best mark they can do. They are still in play for maybe being a 3 seed in the playoffs at minimum. If they do win out with help along the way here, or take over and Mongoose losing their games outright. So they could definitely turn the tables and really control the narrative for where they finish in the playoff rankings.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
we'll find out how this plays out for them. So look, when we look at the final playoff spot with Backyard Bullies who are occupying it right now.
I did want to say,
Yes.
a couple of weeks ago, you said Backyard Bullies would beat Hurley and Sons. You fool!
I know.
That's it. That's all I had to say about that.
I know.
I very rarely remember. I was like, you got caught up in your own take early in the show and then stayed with it
I
until
stayed
the
with
picks.
it, yes.
And I was like, I very rarely remember when we do that, but that was the one.
Of
that was
course.
the one for me.
You
But
always
go ahead.
remember that one small take from Ocon. All right.
Backyard Bullies.
Freezing cold takes. Here we come.
That's the one. That's
That is
that's
the
the one
one.
I remembered.
So the final playoff spot, Backyard Bullies, Big Fun and Hurleys and Sons are still in play for that.
And they have Small Giants and Big Fun on their schedule.
Yeah, and Bullies played Big Fun on the final weekend of the season, by the way. So could it come down to that final game of the year, PZ, for Bullies and Big Fun to punch their playoff ticket for the playoffs?
Might have to. Small Giants been really good for most of the season. They've fallen off a little bit, but
They had a bad loss, though, the Stoics, right? I mean, Small Giants a couple weeks ago.
Stoics.
Stoics are annoying though. Because they
Tell me about it. I know.
they they're gonna stay in every game, and then if you slip up, they'll find a way to win. Right? That's just kind of their MO. That's what
They're
they've
like the
always
Wisconsin Badgers of college, like
Yeah,
basketball.
yeah.
That's what they are.
been. Oh yeah, they'll bore you to death, but
Yeah.
they'll be successful.
Big Fun do have Brotherhood next week, so is that a scheduled loss for them, or is that a potentially competitive game with Zachary Albert's skill playing?
So we brought up this discussion about Kwesi Gordon Mall. Iggy said he wasn't buying into the hype.
no, that was me.
Oh,
I'm not
you.
buying
That's
into
right.
the
That's
hype.
right. It's not a big
I
part.
am
You.
totally not on the Kwesi train.
So
right
that's
now.
that brings us to the question with Big
Kwesi
Fun,
train.
right? The-
Crazy
the-
train. Another reference Mokan will never get.
Of course not. So with
Crazy
Big Fun,
cupcakes. Hmm?
could this be a win for them then? Since you're not buying into the Kwesi train hype.
I think if you find a way to make Kwesi throw the ball, Brotherhood are not good. That's my hot take, and I will die on that mountain.
Yeah, he's gonna kick your ass at the staff dinner.
I
and
don't
it's,
care.
There's not a nicer person on earth. So just to be clear, let's get the Brotherhood
Yeah.
tab open here. You're saying the guy who's thrown 28 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, make him throw.
Yes.
Okay.
Because he brought
Completing 67% of his passes, though.
Yes.
because he brought up the point of
Because
how
they're
they
all
play
they're
Cage
all
Bureau.
checkdowns. They're all checkdowns, or
That's
they're just
okay.
launched after skirting left and right.
So, okay, I think you're. I've played against Kwesi recently in co-ed. Getting a rusher to contain Kwesi Gordon Mall is very difficult.
It
I
is
agree.
an exact science.
The next thing is it's not what you're thinking that he always tries to beat the rusher and then make the throw. He does do that from time to time, but sometimes it's a designed rollout to create a throwing window, which is the evolution in his game, which has looked really impressive to me. And if you have the discipline to throw the checkdowns and continuously move the ball, that's a positive in FPF. That's not a negative.
Is Big Fun the team that's going to be able to figure
No.
this out?
No.
and,
no.
and look, Brotherhood has athletes.
So because you're saying that the rushing of Zachary Albert's-Gill,
Yes,
that's
and
the
potentially
wrong. That's the wrong rusher for that quarterback.
Yeah, he's like a run stopper rusher.
He's
Devin.
he's a good contain rusher.
yeah, that's what he is.
So like if you're a quarterback that needs to get to his third read, Zachary Alberts-Gill will wreck you. If you're a quick release quarterback or a legitimate running
He's
quarterback,
relevant then.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
he's
He
gonna negate it.
evaporates in air.
And there's not another player on this maybe you know what? No, there's not another player on this roster who can rush him. This is not a fast team.
And look, Brotherhood has a lot to play for right now because the number one seed has not been officially clinched yet, with Stoics right behind them.
Stoics.
So they could
Stokes,
drop.
by the way, leading their division with a -3 plus minus.
What a
It's
phenomenal.
beautiful. It's
yeah.
beautiful. They're
Beautiful.
so annoying. It's the best.
And they're gonna win, and then
And
Yeah.
they play in the last week, eh?
They're
Stoics
so
Brotherhood.
they're
Yeah.
so ugly. It's so good. Even when I
Wisconsin
called
basketball.
their championship game, and it's just that when they're humming, you can't stop them, and they're gonna stick around, and you're gonna make a mistake before them.
All right, 4B. Looking at it now, Mofos. I think the league got the perfect final 2 weekends involving the playoff spots right now. So you got Mofos who play Locos coming up. Team Ethnic plays Bandits in these next 2 weeks here. So, Pete, when you look at it right now with that side of the division where Mofos are 4, Bandits are 5, Ethnic is 6, Locos are 7th, but they only have one game left. I mean, all of them have, besides Mofos, one game left here. Who's the odd team out when it's all said and done and when the dust is cleared?
I think Mofos are, like, despite the records, Mofos are much better than Los Locos. They're more communicative on defense. Their athleticism is about on par with Los Locos, but they're a better team as far as I'm concerned. The organization. They're very similar, but they're much more organized than Los Locos. Los Locos at times reminds me of a lower division team with great athletes.
I worry about Team Ethnic because
Team Ethnic's defense is rough, dude.
So I'm going to tell you
Why?
why. The last 4 weekends, I've score kept their games at Hebert and Loyola. The last 4 of the last 5 weekends, I've score kept their games. They've had leads. Okay, there was the game.
They had a lead against us.
Yes, and
That's
they
another
lost.
one.
Right,
That's
they lost that
another
game. Right, we brought that up last week. So they played Eastside Boys yesterday. They had a 3-score lead on Eastside Boys, and guess what happened? East Side Boys created a turnover with 2 plays left and almost won the game at the death of the matchup.
And
That worries me. They can't close out games in the second half. I don't know why.
it's the defense. There's too much in this division. The teams that struggle most on defense are just not disciplined, and they're one of those teams. They're not disciplined. The way they play their zones almost works out to be full field lanes, where like
Yeah, you cover this.
but it's
lane.
it. Everyone's occupying a sixth of the field vertically. It's so weird. It's so weird, and it's not. They're not doing that on purpose. They're doing it because guys drift in their zone or they get too aggressive. Like no one's playing their defense properly on the team.
No, and
And look, there's a lot of teams in the lower part of this division that struggle with that.
you see that
Hot
video-
Sauce Sports, Sphinx, Los Locos are all examples of that kind of team.
Did you see that video of that guy in Running with the Bulls? He got wrecked by the bull, right? That's who Team Ethnic is. Like,
You know, I have a friend who did that.
Oh,
You know the Bulls.
I would never want to do that.
Yeah, he just took 8 steps and then drifted off into an alley and went to a bar, and that was him running with the Bulls. It was just so his wife can get a picture, and then he took off.
It's like these guys tempt themselves with running the Bulls. Like, oh yeah, don't worry, we have a lead, we can do it, and then they get rammed by that bull right head on, and that's almost 4 games in a row that they lost at the final play. It's crazy how they've collapsed. They've been the architects of their own downfall this year.
Mm-hmm.
They could be a lot higher than where they are. They
Yeah.
could easily be a 7-2 team than where they are right now.
But would you run with the Bulls?
No, never. It's a scary proposition.
I don't
man.
run.
I'm a Chicago Bulls fan, but I would never run with the Bulls though.
Would you run with the Chicago Bulls?
I would run with the Chicago
I
Bulls.
don't think so. You don't have the athleticism. You don't have the cardiovascular health.
What card do I do have?
You don't have the
to
hand
run
strength.
with NBA players.
This is
No.
the NBA. Listen.
Do you know how much those guys run in a game?
Yeah, I know. I see.
Except for James Harden.
James doesn't run. No, he stands in one position.
Who should trade for James Harden?
Everyone.
Everyone.
Yeah, everyone. I'm surprised that
You don't get that joke unless you've watched our latest episode of.
You've been listening to Hot Sauce Sports. Well, it also, the show's called Hot Sauce Sports. We made many jokes at James Harden's expense.
East Side Boys, in this conversation, are they done?
Well,
Last
they
night's-
need a lot of help.
That's
last
why.
night's loss hurt a lot. We'll talk about that loss in a second, but
So the only thing that's in East Side Boys' favor is their very low points against. That's the only thing that's going for them, in that if they do manage to get a win next week
against the U.
against the U,
Which is not
they
gonna be
do go
easy.
into the 8
Pack
points
it up. It's done.
pool, which means if Bandits, Team Ethnic can potentially 3-way tie, Los Locos with a tie, whatever it is,
Done.
they would potentially get in on the lowest PA if we get to that point. Maybe.
It's done. Wrap it up.
U-Haul.
It's not looking good though.
The U-Haul. Let's pull up
Look,
the U-Haul for this
I
season.
love these side boys. I'm an East Ender. Eagles an East Ender. It's Montreal's better side.
I'm
Everybody knows that.
I'm an adopted East Ender at times.
There we go. Hey, you knew where Elios was.
Yeah, that's right.
So
Exactly.
that makes you an honorary East Ender.
Exactly.
But yeah, no. I don't see it happening. It's tough because you know what, they've put up a good fight in a lot of these games because of their defense. And they've had these outbursts too where they put up 40 on Los Locos, for example,
Right.
right? So they've had some tough fought games, but I don't see it happening.
Okay, when you look at Conference B right now, Arush, Golden Eagles, Finessers are holding on to playoff spots. Ballers, Voodoo, and Hot Sauce Sports
So,
still have a chance to
can-
get in.
Can we call out Golden Eagles for bringing in a ringer?
Look, I score kept that game the first time he played. Felix Goulet playing for them. And I know Iggy wrote in the comments, Felix Goulet.
It's the guys coach Villarreal. They have an infinite flux of talent, right? Like that's the thing.
But there's nothing against the rules, right?
No, of course, but you know what you're doing. Come on, Kev Lubin.
But that's
You're
fine.
supposed
though.
to be one of the best quarterbacks in this division.
Well, he,
Step
had Sarah,
up.
he had Sarah Parker as his quarterback, right?
No, but it was also he started the season as a quarterback.
Yeah. But it's nothing wrong. There's nothing against the rules.
Ah, yes.
It's smart play, right? I mean, will he be eligible, Felix Goulet? How many games does he have played so far?
I think he's played 3.
Yes, he needs to play 2 more, right? So
He needs to finish the season with them.
and it's looking like he will finish the season, right? With 5 games, I would hope.
Yeah, it does look like it.
So right now, when you look at those teams,
They're a different team with him at quarterback because it
Oh.
also allows them to use Kevin Lubin as a receiver.
Yeah, and you can see they are able to spread the ball further deep down the field. So when we look at it right now with the Rouge, Golden Eagles, and Finessers, they're holding playoff spots. Is there a team that you think is vulnerable that can drop down for Hot Sauce Sports to jump back into the
I'm
playoffs?
hoping so.
There's so much volatility that could happen here, right? From 3 all the way down to 9.
Well, Henry Martin, I think, is in strong position, though.
Not necessarily. I mean,
They're-
yes, but not
in theory.
necessarily. They lose 2 games, and suddenly you're on the outside looking in.
But
Maybe
in theory,
I'm
they're in
surprised by
strong
Voodoo,
position.
by the way. I'm surprised Voodoo just fell off the way they did. They started off so
But this is
strong.
the
it's
bad
that
Voodoo,
TikTok thing, right? One year they have a good year, one year it's awful.
But
Yeah,
they
but they've
started
been
off.
awful.
They started off strong. Like they started off the season 2-1, and they played a close game against Beer Belly Brigade, who's really good, by the way. But they face Ballers and Golden Eagles, which it's tough. It does help Ballers. It gives Ballers a chance because it'll put them. If Ballers, one of those teams becomes a 3-win team,
Yeah.
right? So that automatically creates an opportunity. Hot Sauce Sports has Sphinx and Finessers.
That should be a
Fin-
win.
that,
against
ga-
Sphinx.
that game against Finesse, well, but it's outdoors with Peas at quarterback, so
Oh,
we'll
boy,
see.
yeah.
Outdoors 1 degree in the snow. Thanks, FPF.
I'll be in the complex. Toasty warm, actually.
Nah, I'm sure.
Yeah, control climate.
Didn't you say it was cold in there?
No, Lachine is.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Layla isn't.
So the other thing for that, so like one of those teams. So there's a chance where Finessers and Hot Sauce Sports are competing for that last spot. Which, unless Ballers or Voodoo win both games, in which case that's pretty much done.
But you know what? Could the 2 ties for Finessers hurt them in the conclusion?
Absolutely can hurt. Because if they lose, Finessers have Hot Sauce Sports and who else? Who's the game they have this week? Beer Belly Brigade.
Yeah, they lose
So
the Beer
they'll probably lose Beer Belly Brigade because I'm telling you, they're really good. They're the class of the class in Division 4, and they would have probably Beer Belly Brigade would have competed in 4A. They're really good. Then Finessers then have to play Hot Sauce Sports for a playoff berth, basically.
Right.
That might be because at that point the 2 teams would be tied, but then they'd have less wins if they lose, right? So like,
Yeah.
there's all of that comes into play.
those ties, man.
It's weird to talk about my own team without like being the third person. So,
Those ties, man. They are the bane of some team's existence.
but also if they lost both games, they'd probably be out of it. So, who knows?
yeah, and you just don't know.
Also, not really though. They'd be in the same spot actually.
yeah.
so
Finessers,
you-
though,
If you take those 2 games and you make them losses, they're in the same spot.
yeah.
And if you take those 2 wins, if you take those 2 games and make them wins, they're also in the same spot. So no, they're not the bane of their existence. They're in the same spot. Because
Sorry.
right now there's almost no difference between 4 and 2 wins for Conference B. Because of all the interplay remaining.
Look, the league got what it wanted. There is jeopardy going into the final 2 weeks of the season because and
So given that I'm involved, how do you see the bottom spot shaken out for
Voodoo's done.
Really?
Voodoo's-
Well,
yeah.
Voodoo have the toughest path.
They are done. I score kept the game a couple weeks ago. They were done. I can't see
They
them.
looked so good to start the season.
That's
so
what they
good.
always do. They fly high. No one talks about them because they underestimate their whole team, and then they come back to reality. But I don't see. I think Golden Eagles will be okay. I think Arush should be okay, but they've had some glitches along the way because they played Golden Eagles 2 weeks ago, and they didn't look good. They just looked outdated in terms of their start to the game. They had 2 possessions inside the 5, which they couldn't score touchdowns.
That game also had Golden Eagles with Dawson Pierre on the team. With
Oh
Felix
yeah.
Goulet.
Oh man, Dawson Pierre. My God.
So
That's like a video. That's
it
like
took
a
a
cheat code.
great quarterback with unstoppable
It's like a
force.
cheat code over there. I think Hot Sauce Sports, again, with the weather, if it's nice, if it's hopefully above 5 degrees Sunday night,
It's the best path we could have asked for.
it's the best scenario. Yeah, I think so. I think the way that the chips have fallen, that this can play into your hands, that you guys control your narrative of making the playoffs.
And finally, no COVID running through the team.
Thank God. Thank God.
Because
That's
we
not
have
the
a
case.
lot of lost man games. that
It's
are
not.
lost
It's not
to-
fun at all.
No.
On to 5A and B as we make our way through, and so again, the league gets what it wants because we talk about divisions this year, Peas, and that there's still seats to be had. Teams are still relevant right now, unlike in years past. So we look at it right now. I got the wrong tab.
It's also because we haven't played a full set of games, so there's so many scenarios that are still up in the air
Exactly.
in a lot of cases.
like Kings of the North, for example, have 3 games left, right? But here's the scenario right now. from Pincellos, Longhorns, and Kings of the North, who has a chance to make the late push? Is it going to be Kings of the North with 3 games left that they can maybe sneak in as a last seed?
So first of all, Pincello's turning the season around. By the way, credit to them because they looked
We wrote them off
done.
like week
They
4.
look done, and they still have a
chance.
playoff scenario, right? They beat Goofy Goobers. That's a good win. They second half of the season's. Well, it was sort of the middle of the season, and then the win this past week that's helped them. The problem is they play Los Bandidos, which I think are a terrible matchup for them, and they only have 1 game remaining.
Right.
So I think that's tough for them. Longhorns have made a change of quarterback, and that's made a difference, right? Like that's changed the team's fortune all at once.
But who? I mean, do you still buy into the Longhorns maybe making that run for the last spot? Because Step Bros is reeling right now. They're not playing well. Step Bros. They got wrecked by the REIT, and they are vulnerable.
Well, I think in 5A there's some division between the high end teams and lower ranked teams, and like I think the REIT would basically be beating up on a lot of these teams. Longhorns just took a bad loss, but before that, they had won 3 of their last 4. Oh, sorry, 4 of their last. Sorry, 3 of their last 5.
right.
And the one of the losses was by a touchdown. So like they were competitive, but Wubba Lubba W's is a horrendous matchup for Longhorns, and now they play Step Bros. I think Step Bros, like that's a game for the final spot basically, as far as I'm concerned, because I don't see Pincellos winning, and even at that. One of those 2 teams wins. I think actually, correct me if I'm wrong, Eagle, Pincellos are mathematically eliminated unless, I guess if Step
Well, they can still
Step
get
Bros and
in.
Longhorns tie, Pincellos can win and they're in.
Pretty much.
That's the only
that's
scenario.
Like the only
Kings of the North are done.
chance.
Kings of the North are done.
Kings of the North, no, because
No,
they
they
have
can-
3 games
Oh, they
left.
have
Yeah,
3 games.
that's why they can win out and have 5 wins and be in the playoffs.
Well, that worked out in their their benefit.
Yeah, so they control everything. They control the shipment of how the wins are going to come through for them, and that's why. Do they have that chance to get in? I want to say yes, but
79 points scored through 7 games.
yeah, that's not.
The
not
scoring, not even the scoring. Basically 10 points a game.
Which isn't enough.
They face Goofy Goobers, which
Not going to happen for them.
I mean it'll be close because Goofy Goobers won't put up a ton of points. Vultures 2.0 is a loss. Mighty 6.
M6 is in a fight themselves as well.
But Mighty, like to give you an example, Mighty 6 have 1 more win than Kings of the North, but they've scored 210 points. Like
Yeah,
it's not massive because they've played 8 games. Like they're still scoring. They're scoring under 3 scores a game, but it's not what Kings of the North have experienced. Like 79 points through 7 games is gross.
it's not. Yeah, it's not good. Speaking of the opposite of not good, REIT.
The opposite
And-
of not good. Yeah.
Their dominance of 5A. Like I had a first row seat of their play against Step Bros on Wednesday.
You know why, eh? Because they have Alex Dackwell on their team.
That's true.
They do, and you know
a good
what?
one.
When I saw him, I go, man, he's like a bigger version of Eagle.
So he looks more like Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah,
Doesn't?
yeah, for sure. But they are a machine.
Yeah.
This is like
A lot of these ratings are going up, I imagine, for next season, right?
Yeah, like I mean, this is like a one and done for them in this division. But
Because the Spiranios we talked about, even in higher divisions, Dawson Pierre's rating is going to
Alex
skyrocket.
Dalcala is
absolutely.
going to jump up there. Like, which Alex Dalcala would you rather have? Our very own Eagle or the
I'm
more
loyal, Mo. I'm
or the
loyal
Matt
to a
D-
fault. So this is why my teams always struggle. So I'm going to go with the Eagle, but maybe the other guy's the real Eagle. Who knows?
But they're impressive though, and I just don't know who on that side of Commersby can compete with them.
And Santino Spirania, 13 sacks. Like 13 sacks into 5 is a lot of sacks.
So
You're going to find this hilarious, by the way.
Yeah.
So we actually looked at us. I actually have a 0.2 higher rating than other Alex Dackwell.
Let's say I made the
But
right choice.
he has a 0.8 higher defensive rating than me.
Okay.
So we're basically the same
who's a
person.
better play caller, you or him?
Oh, me.
He doesn't need to be
Like,
able to play color with
if
the
the
read.
Reed took this eagle of ours and replaced them with their eagle,
I don't think it makes a difference because the team otherwise is so good. It doesn't make a difference.
like,
It's an embarrassment.
I
of
think the
riches.
PDs is what would be different here because he's taller. That's about it.
Isn't everyone?
Yes.
So yeah.
well, eagle's taller than Iggy, right?
Am I?
No, I don't think so.
Right? Yeah, he is.
I mean, in heels.
yeah, of course.
I do like my heels.
You do definitely do. Like your North Carolina Tar Heels.
Well, what would you wear tar in your heels for? That just sounds
if
like
you,
a
if
problem.
you don't want to move quickly.
Yeah. Then I wouldn't play defense or offense or anything.
An hour and a half.
Uh,
What could that mean? And it could mean anything.
Backwoods Football Club, Vulture 2.0, M6, Streets Ahead, BWW. Looking at the playoff standings for those sides of teams here, P's. A lot to be played for right now because Streets Ahead could jump into the playoff window. Buffalo Wild Wings still hanging by thread. So is there panic for any of these teams, whether it is Backwoods Football Club, Vulture 2.0, or the M6, the Mighty Six that might fall behind?
Maybe Mighty Six.
So let's talk about BWW. They have balls deep.
But so
and-
like, look, it ends here because Streets Ahead have Ghosts in the Reeds. It's over. Right? Like,
Yeah.
it's over. It's over.
I
question
think
mark?
it's over, yeah.
It's over, Rock.
There you go.
Well, what about
Conversation concluded.
Buffalo Wild Wings?
Yeah, so they have Backwoods Football Club and Balls Deep on their schedule. They need to win
It's over.
both those games to
It is
even
over.
have a chance.
It is
Balls
over.
deep, by the way, and they mentioned this on the Instagram. I noticed this, but wasn't on the show last week. They've come around. They had a really tough last season. Last time we saw them,
Right.
and now they're 6-2, one of the leaders in the clubhouse. They've turned it around. That said, I will say Balls Deep at times played out to the competition and don't score enough to put teams away early.
Well, here's the thing, though, Peace, right? They are holding on to that one spot. But could you see them losing one more game?
Yeah, well, the game against Ghosts will be very difficult for them.
That's why. Yeah.
And Buffalo Wild Wings, like, if they're not careful, they might lose it. I don't think it's going to happen. But, like, you know, if you only put up 24 points, you might lose that game, right?
right.
Like we saw this week, they beat Mighty Six, who have struggled. They beat them 26-25. They lost the Kings of the North, who we talked about as struggling. They lost by a point. You know, Ravens, they beat by a point. Like, all their games, it's such high volatility. They can easily be a 2-16.
Yeah, and the things with Balls Deep, though, you know, with what they have now, because, you know, we talk about Buffalo Wild Wings still in play here. But Balls Deep, they now have Ghost final weekend of the season. They can flip-flop with them, but then if they were to trip up here, they could lose the top two spot,
And
and
to
the
be
Ravens could jump into that number 2 spot at least.
To be fair, Ghosts are also not scoring a ton either.
No.
Like they've relied on their defense way more than I thought they would. And it affected them this past week. Like, there's no way in my mind that a team quarterback with Jamal Roach with the ceiling he has, there's no way I would have thought that if Ravens only put up 26 that they lose that game.
Have not scored more than 30 since week 3.
Yeah.
And I think reality's kind of set in for him as a young quarterback at this level that it's going to take another season or two.
Which is fine. It just but the Ghost defense is really good.
They are ghosting their way through. Like Casper's out there.
They're not calling you back.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
I love how you went with Casper as your reference.
The oldest possible Ghost.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, we will go with Ghostbusters.
I mean, that would have been good too.
Or
I think that's,
or
I
have
think that's
you
more
seen-
recent, by the way,
It's
than
true.
Casper.
But have you seen the Qatar 2022?
Yes,
logo?
the mascot.
So
Yeah,
the mascot.
the ghost of
Oh.
all the workers that died building
That's
the
what I was gonna
stadium.
say.
Yeah, like
That's
it's-
what
It's
the
Casper the Ghost.
that's what it is. That's what it's for. It represents the people they killed to make those stadiums.
Yeah, of course, man. Unreal Qatar, man. Anyway,
Come on, FIFA.
money buys you things. Hey, you know what? If we put together a bid, we can host the World Cup here.
We
in this-
did.
this-
We lost
Yeah.
the bid.
We got
We
Leola.
just-
we got
we literally just lost the bid.
we got
last
Brassard.
week. It happened last week.
We got Brassard, Leola, Laval. We got like 5-6 spots here. We could do it all in Montreal, man.
We can.
You know?
I
Omar be the referee.
I
Leola
was
Gervais, the
I was
referee.
at the Olympic Village this weekend because I took my nephew to the Biodome,
Yeah.
and I realized how much all of those buildings are falling apart, except for Saputo Stadium, which is too small.
Saputo Stadium, my God, man. It's supported by beams. Not even a stadium.
It's pretty though. It's a nice
No,
experience.
no,
It's a fun experience. I
Saputo's-
like it.
Inside of it is nice, but the exterior.
Oh, the
is
exterior
ugly.
is
That's what I'm
terrifying.
talking about. It's
Yeah.
supported by beams, right? It's just all it is.
They need to build a stadium around it.
They need to do something about that. Yes. All right. Okay. So we look at not Mustangs right now. Do they have any prayer at all? Because they do play our very own Lockdown at 8-1. Do they have any chance to keep their hopes alive?
You guys choked away a game, huh?
Last week.
Kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's gonna happen.
We
in the playoffs,
actually
huh?
I wasn't there for that game, but apparently we went for it at the end of the game for 2 to try and for the win. And
You gotta
we
do
missed.
that. You
But
gotta do
also,
that.
yeah, we had a bad first half.
But why
Apparently.
did it say it went for 1?
Because some scorekeeper's an idiot, and I'm sure it was you.
It wasn't me because I wasn't there for that game. Remember, I was under quarantine protocol.
under protest.
Exactly.
Non-Mustangs have struggled. They've scored 12 points combined in the last 2 games. They lost the game 12-6 to Threat Level Midnight. They're just inexperienced is all that is, right? Alex Cahan, when he's played quarterback, he's turned the ball over. They have a good receiving squad, and I like Jason Cassandra a lot. I wrote about him in my Division 6 articles because he's played Division 6, but he's not been used much.
Mm-hmm.
He's only in, actually, that's it. He's a sub on the team. I thought he was there more often.
Yeah.
He just happened to be there when I saw the team. But other than Max Kadenoff, they're just not targeting anybody else in a significant way, and it's too easy to defend. It's too easy to defend. And you know, to Eagles' credit, he's a good defensive play caller. I don't think they have a chance to win that game.
Air Force One, quickly here, please. Air Force One, they have 4 games left. They are in the 2 seed.
They have like the worst luck. Either they had COVID, their opponents had COVID,
Yeah.
games got postponed, weather postponements. Like it's just been everything and anything under the moon has happened to this team. Poor
Can they
guys.
jump and be
Yes.
a number 1 seed?
They're the most talented team in the division.
So you think the more trap stars today?
Yeah, they're the most talented team in the division. In terms of actual, just straight up talent, Manuel Roy is really good. They also have the ghost of Philanger playing games. He's actually played more games in this team than he has. He's playoff eligible for the first time on a roster in a long time. They have the Van. Do they have both Van Oort brothers, or just the one?
They have Chris.
Chris Van Oort. Chris Van Oort's excellent. Yeah, it's top to bottom a good team. Simon Blais, we've seen him play in this league. He has 11-1 touchdown to interception ratio. He's completing over 70% of his passes. Yeah. So they face Trailer Park Boys who are going to have a hard time with them. Save a Horse can put up a fight, but I don't see that as a win. They should beat Ben. They should beat what could have been.
I see 2 wins, at least 2 wins.
I see at least 2, but I'm not surprised if it's 4.
And if they get 4, if things go the way, they will be the 1 seed on their side. And
I think they will be. I think they will. I think at best they'll at most they'll lose a game.
What would be the point spread if it was Air Force One against Lockdown in the final?
I think it'll be closer than you think, but I think it would be a kind of game where they'd run away with in the second half. They win by 2 scores.
Like, I'm really pumped for Eagle, by the way. I am pumped for you, Eagle.
Yeah, no.
I really hope you get to the finals.
Guys, we're still like a month away. There's a lot of games left to play.
Yeah.
Let's not count our chickens.
well, but like you've already played.
Here's Belichick coming out. We're on to the next game right now. Week 10 over here. This Belichick clone over here.
No, look. I mean, we've seen the class. Like Speakeasy and Lockdown, similar to good schematically, just solid teams across the board.
Right.
But Air Force One and even Trap Stars have a lot of just athleticism. But Air Force One, again, sneakily in 6 games, allowing under 10 points a game.
All right, on to co-ed. And I know we spoke about it now, but what are we going to do for co-ed here? Because the season's done now officially. Their
It's
playoffs
not done.
Well,
They play 10 games.
Oh, begging
co-ed.
pardon. Sorry, I mixed up with Women's League. My bad. All right, so co-ed now. We're down to 8, the final 2 games of the season. That's what I meant to say.
Sure.
Trying to make up for the fumble here. All right, so now we're down to the final weeks of the season, Peas. Look at the standings right now and what can be played for in co-ed. 1, that is. Party Mix, Power Rangers are neck and neck at 12 points each year. Easy Fun, I think now probably will be your 3 seed in that position right now. Do we see Party Mix falling to number 2 and Power Rangers moving up to number 1 here?
Sure. If you want it to be that.
So here's the twist in this conversation. Easy Fun have 2.5 kittens and Party Mix left on their schedule. Power Rangers have Average and Savage and 2.5 kittens.
So 2.5 kids is the common denominator then.
Yeah.
Party Mix have Average and Savage as their last game on top of having Easy Fun.
Given
So-
the fact that these two teams are going to play in the finals, I don't think it matters.
So essentially, it's just everyone's finishing 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th.
I think so. It's just look. It's you know, if one of those teams can pull off an upset, great. But
So who's the more vulnerable right now?
teams 3 through 7.
But
Does
Party
Bishop
Mix-
Sycamore jump ahead because they have Sriracha Hot Chili Sauce twice left on their schedule with new QB to bump them up, right? So potentially
Sarah
they can go
Parker
up to
now.
12 points and maybe pass Easy Fun if Easy Fun wins one and loses the other.
So it sucks that Tommy Rolly Troados had to leave because he was finally getting the hang of playing the position, right? But like he handed the reins off to perhaps the most accomplished quarterback he could.
You go from a 4x4 to a Ferrari and Sarah
Yeah.
Parker.
And then the athlete, we know about the athletes on. This is probably the most
When you say
athletic squad.
4x4, do you mean like an all-wheel drive? You mean like a Jeep?
Yeah, like a Jeep. He's
Like a Range Rover?
No, like a Rubicon.
Okay.
That's what Tommy is, a Rubicon.
I think you can get him better than that.
No.
So the thing is
Grand
that-
Grand Cherokee Chief? Like, I don't know.
This is the
Is that
this is
better
the
than
best.
Rubicon?
no.
This is the best group of athletes that Sarah Parker's thrown to before, right? Like all on one team.
Well, she's got the recipe there. She's got all the materials required to have a pretty good, strong finish to the year.
So, if they win both those games,
They would jump up to
It
6
gets to
and 4.
12
they
points.
still don't catch either Party Mix or Power Rangers.
They'll be a 3.
yeah, they'd be
falls in.
3 at that
They'll
point.
be a 3.
Yeah.
So that
Which
would be,
I think will happen. But I don't think it matters because to me the class of the division, like Bishop Sycamore throws a wrench into it by having Sarah Parker because as we talked about, what it does is allows you to use your receiving core differently by having a female allotted at the quarterback position. B, it's not just any quarterback; it's a really really good quarterback. But I just think that Party Mix and Power Rangers are so deep across the board.
I look at it now with 2 games left. How many teams do you think will finish above 500? We know that Party Mix, Rangers, and Easy Fun are in. Like, they'll be above 500.
Well, I mean, Party Mix and Power Rangers already are.
Yeah. Easy Fun's in a good position. To
Easy
be
Fun, likely.
Sycamore and Sriracha.
Easy Fun. Well, you know what? Easy Fun will be about 500.
Yeah.
And then Bishop Sycamore will finish. So let's say 4, because Sriracha will. I think they're gonna lose both games.
Which I think is a success. Sorry, I'm losing my.
Yeah, it's just like we need a few more co-ed teams to sort of really build enough
it out.
depth.
Yeah.
But we're getting there. You know what I mean? And like, don't forget, Easy Fun is competing at a really high level, and they were in tier 2 in the fall.
Right.
So
Right.
they took a huge step up. And they're playing really well. It's just that, again, the Party Mix and Power Rangers, they've been here for a little while, right? So they've got things figured out.
And Co-Ed 2, look, Fit Squad is still neck and neck with Kiss My End Zone for the number 1 spot as we speak. But why? They're still hovering around. I mean, if they were to win out and get some help along the way, they can jump into the top 2 spot here. Are we giving YY a chance at all, Piece, to get into that top 2 spot? Given who they have left on their schedule, which if my computer can open up properly, which takes a little bit longer than normal, they got 300.
They have 3 Hunters and Kiss My End Zone.
Kiss My End Zone. So maybe at least 1 spot if they do win out.
I think they're locked in at 3 at best. I think there's a chance to lose the 300s, and I think they lose Kiss My End Zone.
So Kiss My End Zone has Fit Squad left, and top of having the Y and Y matchup. Now Y and Y has already won the previous game, so even if Kiss My End Zone wins this game, well then they would take the 2 spot. But if they lose
they won by 1 point, and it wasn't the normal Kiss My End Zone roster. Yeah, well, actually, no. They had more people there than I thought. They're just a bad game, I guess. It was just we've said it before that once in a while David DeAndre is going to have an off game, and that was the one. I don't see him having both those games. Fit Squad has been tough for Kiss My End Zone this season, so I feel like that's a tough one. I think Kiss My End Zone split both games, but I think they beat YY. And YY, there's a chance they lose both.
Yeah, like 300s, I think are locked in as your 4. I think
Maybe because 300s might win
They can get up as high as 3. That's
Yeah.
the target right now.
Yeah.
Why
But
and
like,
why.
so I think they can. They faced Lesec last game of the season. Lesec's improved, but 300, and they did tie earlier in the season. But I think 300 is a slightly better team, and I think Yin and Yang. That's not a given for them. That's an easy trap game for them.
Yeah,
Have they played before? They played week 1. Week 1, 300 was not the same team. It took them a few weeks to sort of find
I
themselves.
believe Lesec gave 300s their run for the money this year. I'm sure
They tied.
Yeah, they
They
tied
tied.
early in the year. That's right.
Yeah, but 300 is so like they took a win in week 3 against Team Commando,
Yeah.
and that's then they beat Fit Squad, but they're the only team to beat Fit Squad this season, and it was a mopping. I was there to watch that game, but it's weird because Kiss My End Zone matches up really well against 300s. They match up terribly against Fit Squad, and then we have Y&Y that's kind of in between everything, and
Yeah.
they could beat anyone, but
Right.
they're also not the favorite ever to win the game against any of those teams.
Some intriguing battles come up here for co-ed.
Also, what's happening with how many teams make playoffs in co-ed? Because I
Everyone.
see you and Alexi
Everyone
are
makes playoffs.
currently arguing about it in a private chat.
No, that's actually the women's division that
Yeah,
we're
everyone
arguing about,
makes
which we'll get
playoffs.
to,
Everyone makes
I
playoffs.
just my computer's like blowing up with 900 messages.
No, everyone makes playoffs for co-ed.
Okay.
So that's why like 300s could very well be locking up with less sect. In fact, they do play them last game of the year, so they might be going back-to-back weeks of playing each other in the regular season and the playoffs as well.
Side note: Memphis has scored 24 unanswered points against Minnesota
you
in the fourth quarter.
Kidding me?
That makes sense. That tracks.
Are you kidding me?
That tracks.
They ended the third quarter. It was 83-62. It is currently
That's a
86-65
wrap.
Memphis.
So, like,
the game's
uh,
over now.
Ant's good.
Hold
but
on,
that
hold on.
team
How
is
far beyond
not
are you?
good.
The game's over now.
Oh, that was Duke sending it to me. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I love the Minnesota Timberwolves city uniform, which is like
Yeah.
they
The
take
NBA city uniforms in general are beautiful.
Yeah, they came out well. They take like past
the Denver
uniforms
one
and
too?
make it one. Yeah,
You know what we didn't do this year? We didn't talk about which FPF jersey kit we love the best. We usually do that like week 3 after pictures, but
Yeah.
picture week
Hot
was
Sauce
weird.
Sports,
So
easy.
I thought sports stores because of new uniforms every year.
Easy.
On to the women's division, and now
So-
can we announce what we're doing?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Peas. Yeah.
We held off last
wait,
week.
Well, so
We held off
yes.
last week, right? So we didn't do it last week.
so we have a plan.
I think we have line. Yes, I hope so.
We do. We want to honor the women's division because we've been so impressed by everything we've seen and by like we said, the whole community aspect, and it's once you start paying attention to the women's league, you fall in love with it instantly. It's a great game. It's super fun to watch. The communal aspect is out of this world. So we're gonna have a live broadcast of the games as we do for the roadshow for the men's finals,
That's right. Yeah.
but it's gonna be a little bit different because we have a little bit more space on the field. We're gonna try putting the broadcast booth on field level, Mokan. I'm gonna be calling one of the games. I believe you're calling one of the games.
I
as
believe
well.
I am. Yes.
We're working on 2 other guests. I will say one of the people in the booth is guaranteed to be someone from the FPF women's community. The other one may or may not be a referee, or might be a second player from the community as well. We don't want to announce it because I've spoken to a few people, but we're not sure yet who's going to be part
Part of the broadcast.
Yeah, like who's going to lose out in the playoffs and so on.
Yeah, it's not the easiest conversation when you lose out right away.
Exactly. So like we're going to
Waits.
talk to people as they start losing some games, but there is one player I spoke to who's likely in because she's not playing this season, but it's not confirmed. I was hoping to get a confirmation today, but she's going to let me know. So hopefully I can announce that next week.
Also, something important to announce, and we're going to get official confirmation shortly, but it seems like Les Griffons are not going to be able to
Just saw that,
participate in the upcoming playoffs. The reason being that the playoff games are in the same period as exam period for many of the players, and they're quite a far distance away to commute for the games and go back.
Not easy.
So because of that, it seems like their first round game is going to be a unfortunate forfeit. Now, no one gets bumped up in terms of seeds because everyone makes playoffs. That's
Right.
actually the conversation we're having as to like, oh, well, does the Rock then bump up? And we're like, no, everyone gets playoffs anyway, so it doesn't change anything. It just means that the likelihood
Roots get
of
free
the
pass.
yeah, exactly. Like the Flamand Rose Griffon game, we know who the de facto winner is going to be. But we'll confirm that in writing to the team captains once it's officially all done and everything. And yeah, so a little bit unfortunate. Hope Griffons had a good season.
They come back next year, hopefully.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
be awesome.
Schedule,
So
School schedules suck.
No, but it's also the FPF schedule got derailed by COVID, and it's colliding with the women's
it's colliding with the
college
normally
university
yeah,
schedule.
well,
so-
normally is our off season, right? Like this is the time where we
Yeah.
are off from FPF, and then we go into the spring season like early.
well,
May.
like literally, the championship game would have been played 2 weeks ago.
yeah, exactly.
Right. So like it's it sucks. It sucks, and hopefully they'll be back, because I can promise you, provided that we don't have another lockdown, this won't happen again.
I
We've
hope
already
not.
talked about turning it into a 10 game
Which
season.
would be nice. I hope to see a 10-game schedule, which would align with the rest of the season for FPF, that we can have them on Road Show weekend, which would be nice. So, look, quarterfinal weekend is coming up this Sunday, April 24th. So, Blue Poodle will play The Rock. Brutes Griffins right now, it looks like it's going to be a pass to the next level for Brutes. And Flamand Rose against Concordia. So, excluding that Brutes game here, Peas, Blue Poodle, The Rock, Flamand Rose, Concordia. Who's more likely to be upset in this round?
Concordia's had a rough season.
But now they're a wounded animal that looks like they can maybe turn the table around, though.
The seeding is not going to help them, because Blue Pood, Brut, and Les Bleus have been incredible from the entire season. Blue Pood's defense is stifling. Les Bleus are attacking at all times, and Brut are just a well-defined two-way machine. To me, there's a distinction between the top three teams. Concordia has been putting up points, though. It's just that I don't know if they can. I don't know if they can stop
Yeah.
teams at the same
They've
clip.
given up the second most points in the division at 2 away.
Yeah, and when they played Brett, for example, they struggled, and played Blue Pood, they struggled. They lost 40-19. They lost to Brett early in the season. So Concordia is the typical middle pack team that beats up on the teams they should win. Like they don't even make those close games, right? Like they'll just win those ones hands out, and then they struggle against the elite teams.
So, in the other side of the bracket here, Bleu Poudre, The Rock. This is the ultimate, like, David versus Goliath matchup. This is a complete mismatch right now. Does The Rock have any hope that they can pull off the smash and grab and get this victory over Bleu Poudre?
No, but so the thing with The Rock is they adapt really well. And if you notice, for example, they obviously struggle from not being the same level as some of the university teams, but they played Griffins tight. They have these games where they can keep it close. It just they struggle scoring against the top tier teams, and I think that'll remain to be the issue. They're learning though, and they're learning quickly. Caroline Menard, she's a gunslinger, right? She's got that Brett Favre mentality where she likes to air it out. Not completing enough passes. She's turned the ball over way too much, and that's the difference.
From Tier 2, Volt Strangers, Red Nation, and VC Cubs, they'll play that Monday night, April 25th here. Winners go on to the finals on May 2nd. So, Pease, the situation right now for this side of the bracket, Volts and Red Nation are in the top two spots here. But do you see any weaknesses with Volts that maybe they might get a sucker punch and get the L given to them and they lose out?
You're saying, Volts are the class of the division.
I can't see them losing, though.
No, I just don't. I don't see it. The scoring is elite. That's the big thing with Volts. And the thing is, their defensive numbers are kind of helped by the fact that when they get up early, and then you're playing from behind, and there's nothing you can do.
Who do you stop from the receiving core? Because you have three players with 6 touchdowns. Loretto, them two.
It's not just a touchdown. It's 39 targets for Mathilde Living. It's 40 targets for Sofia Di Loretto. It's 46 targets for Victoria Di Loretto. It's 23 targets for Witter. It's 50 targets for Maya Aslang. So when they line up, it's not like okay, this is the strong side of the offense, or
Yeah.
or they're building an ISO for this receiver.
Right.
They literally can go anywhere at any time. So it's not just the scoring, it's not just the artist. It's the way Marie-Lune Fossenti reads the field. That's impressive. And it's the opposite of what we just talked about. Her completion percentage is great. A 9.6 yards per pass is low in a sense, but it's because of this methodical style of offense. She's been absolutely impressive. And when she's not there, by the way, it's the next woman up, right? With Elodie Fournier, who's also played well. She turned the ball over a little bit more, but again, still completing about 60%. It's a team-friendly system that is incredibly difficult to defend.
So Red Nation took out VC Cubs by a score of 42-6 in the two matchups this year. They're going to play for the third time again. Is there anything that will say to you that Red Nation could lose to VC Cubs?
Any given Sunday? Question mark.
Or whenever Monday.
I mean, Red Nation, like they won 30-6 last game against the Cubs, and they won 12-0 the first time around. So points are not being scored by VC Cubs, but can they maybe pull off the magical trick here?
So I could be wrong, and remember that we're learning the division. I believe VC Cubs is the youngest team in the division.
Right.
And they have good coaching, they have good talent, but in the last 4 games, they have combined for a total of 6 points.
That's not good.
No, it's that's something to look out for. They're gonna have to lean heavily on Emma Townsend as Lay and Amanda Townsend as Lay. They're the two that have been the feature of the offense. And Emma Townsend as Lay, she moves the ball. She gets the second level. She gets yards after the catch. She's not the one who scores the points for the team, but she's the one who's consistently moving the ball for the offense. If they keep it a low-scoring game, sure. We've seen the two Townsend as Lane combined for 9 interceptions on the season. They haven't applied a ton of pressure on the quarterback, which is part of the weakness. Red Nation, I think, will take care of business in this one, unfortunately for them.
All right. Don't forget, May 2nd, the finals. We'll have more details on the coverage that we'll have for Monday night, May 2nd.
And we're very excited. We're going to make more announcements each week, so please stay tuned.
Stay tuned for the teasers.
And we'll, I just don't want to break news that's not official yet, so hopefully we'll get that sooner than later.
It is now time for
Games of the Week.
You really lost the momentum for that. Let's try it again. It is now time for
Games of the Week.
I think you put more emphasis on of.
Yeah.
Games of the week.
Yeah.
Games of the Week.
That's the one. That's the one. Exactly.
Okay,
My
let's go.
mistake.
Let's dive into it here because
is where the emphasis goes.
I want to be home in time for halftime with the Nuggets Warriors game. Here we go.
All right, we're gonna go with Division 1 and 2. Terror Squad, The Apocalypse.
Squad.
Flag Sack, Got Skills.
FMS.
Yeah, flag.
All Stars, Gryffindor.
I'm gonna go Gryffindor.
Gryffindor.
Urgence Medic, Braves.
Braves. Gonna be a good game though.
That'll be a good game.
All Stars, All Hooks.
All Stars.
All Stars.
Party Crashers, Incredibles.
Party Crashers.
Yeah, Crashers. I think rebound.
Team Swoosh, #NR.
Hashtag
NR.
NR.
KGP, Outlaws.
KGP.
Outlaws, B-Ballers.
Ballers.
Ballers.
KGP, Got Skills.
KGP.
Division 3, Oompa Loompas, Les Gros Coq.
LGC.
Blessed, Killabees.
Blessed.
Bearskins, Silent Ticklers.
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 Lightweight, EZW.
EW.
Oompa Loompas, Touch It Catch It.
Touch it, catch it.
Speed Academy, Mangoose.
Bad high division games, huh?
Yeah. Speed Academy.
What's the
Speed
sorry.
Academy, Mangoose.
Speed Academy?
Yeah, Speed Academy.
Junkyard Dogs, Expendables.
JYD.
JYD.
Thor's Hammer, Past Our Prime.
Hammer.
Sheesh, Les Malud.
Sheesh.
Blessed, Bearskins.
Blessed.
4A, Big Fun, The Brotherhood.
Brotherhood.
Blackouts, The Stoics.
Blackouts.
Stoics.
KGP Raw, Hurley and Sons.
KGB.
KGB Raw. You're not going with Hurley and Sons again?
No, I'm going
KGB Raw.
Small Giants, Backyard Bullies.
Bullies.
Giants.
Nomads, Mongoose.
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 Takeover, Top Season.
Top season.
Takeover.
Centaur, Les Bleus Branleurs.
Santal.
Satar.
Bruins, Bears, Cougars.
Spears Cougars.
Small Giants, Nomads.
Giants.
Giants.
4B, Honey Martin, Golden Eagles.
Honey Martin.
Golden Eagles because Honey Martin, False Kings.
Finessers, Beer Belly Brigade.
Beer Belly.
Ballers, Voodoo.
Ballers.
Los Locos, Mofos.
Mofos.
Sphinx, Hot Sauce Sports.
Hot Sauce Sports.
Can't pick it. Hot Sauce Sports by 50.
Les Montagnards, Les Verges Folles.
Montagnard.
Montagnard.
Bandits, Team Ethnic.
Bandits.
Ethnic.
I'm not buying Ethnic anymore. They're done.
Team Ethnic.
Arouche, Vultures.
Vultures.
East Side Boys, The U.
The U.
You.
5A, Kings of the North, Vultures 2.0.
Vultures 2.0.
Vultures 2.0.
The Mighty Six, Dilfs.
Mighty Six.
Dilfs.
Ghosts, Streets Ahead.
Ghosts.
Ravens, Backwoods Football Club.
Ravens. Be a good game though.
Yeah.
Step Bros, Longhorns.
Horns.
Horns.
Balls Deep, Buffalo Wild Wings.
Balls deep.
Los Bandidos, Pinchelos.
Pinchellos.
Yeah. Pichellos. Give me Pichellos.
Wubba Lubba Dub Dubs, Metaverse.
Dubs.
Dubs.
The Reet, Goofy Goobers.
Reed.
Reed.
5B, Team Sexy, Trailer Park Boys.
Big game for Sexy because they need to win this game here. So we're going Team Sexy.
Same.
Warriors, Replacements.
Warriors.
Warriors, yeah.
Save a Horse, Air Force One.
Air Force One.
Yeah, AF1.
Lockdown, Not Mustangs.
Lockdown.
Lockdown.
Le Speakeasy, Red Dragons.
Speakeasy.
Bin, Air Force One.
Air Force One.
San Francisco 69ers, Cookers.
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 Two Pfizers and Fots, Half Johnson, Trap Stars.
Trap Stars.
Two Pfizers.
Save the Turf Tulls, What Could Have Been.
This is a big game for them.
Yeah.
They have one game left. I'm going to take Save the Turf Tools.
No, I'm going with could have beens.
And Bin, Threat Level Midnight.
Ben.
Ben.
All right, Division 6, Lionhearts, Dusters 2.0.
Dusters.
Dusters.
Killer Rays, Primetime.
Killer Rays.
Ray. I know, prime time.
The Stormers, Glory Boys.
Glory Boys.
Your Girlfriends Cheer for Us, Cavalier du Rohan.
Kevin
Cavalier.
Rohan because they need to win.
Flag Football Team, Tropic Thunder.
Tropic Thunder.
Beer Knights, Free Agent Squad.
Beer Knights.
Beer Knights.
Zidane La Frappe, Brewers.
Brewers.
Brewers will get that one.
West Island Boys, Maccabees.
West Island Boys.
West Island Boys.
Flamingos, Thunder Buddies.
Thunder Buddies.
Thunder Buddies.
The Penetrators, Tugarni.
Penetrators.
The Spanish Inquisition, Stratton Oakmont.
Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah, Inquisition.
The Off Island Boys, Demons.
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 V-Town, Wild
Wait,
Hogs.
no. Off Island Boys, sorry.
V-Town, Wild Hogs.
V-Town.
V-Town.
Flag Football Team, Your Girlfriends Cheer for Us.
Flag football team.
Toon Squad, Team Poland.
Toon Squad.
Toon Squad.
Henry Pisai Gang, 7th Rounders.
7th Rounders.
7th Rounders.
Betway Bandits, The Step Bros.
Betway.
Yeah, that way.
Big Fat Bats, FKU.
FKU.
FKU, yeah.
All right, we're going to go co-ed. Division 1, Bishop Sycamore, Sriracha, Hot Chili Sauce.
BS.
Yep. Yes.
Because I already picked it before. So
2.5 Kittens, Easy Fun.
easy fun.
Fun.
Average and Savage, Power Rangers.
Power Rangers.
Co-ed 2, Fit Squad, Kiss My End Zone.
Fit Squad.
Yeah. Squad.
Team Commando, La Secte.
La Sect.
Team Commando.
Y&Y, 3 Hunas.
300.
And now we're going to go some playoff matchups here. So quarterfinals in women's division, Bleu Pou and The Rock.
Blue.
Yeah, Blue Poo.
Brut and Griffins.
Wall.
Brut. Yeah.
Okay, let's say the game happens.
Brut.
Brut. Yeah.
And Flamand Rose, Concordia.
Flamand Rose.
Concordia with the upset.
Then tier 2, Volts, Strangers.
Volts.
Red Nation, VC Cups.
Nation.
And last prediction here, the championship finals for 35 plus. We have the Old Age Outlaws versus the Shenanigans.
Shenanigans. JLE, man.
Give me my boy Stephen H. in a championship game. I'm pounding the table for him. Old Age Outlaws. Old ass
Shenanigans.
champs.
And the last game at Bay Durfee, 10 o'clock, Wednesday, April 27th. Pacemakers JMJ
Pacemakers.
Tier 2.
Pacemakers.
Makers.
Could be pacemakers against any team in 35 play in tier 2. It was gonna be pacemakers. It was them all along.
Any predictions for NBA Finals here, Mo?
No, it's an FPF show.
Warriors favorite.
Yeah,
With the
watch that
Booker
game
injury.
now. We'll watch that game now. 2 games, hopefully, maybe less. Who knows? All right, magic words, please.
Warriors favorite.
Yeah, good night. Denver Nuggets.
There we go.
PZ will be here with Iggy next week. I'm not here.
Alright.
Because
Well, next 2 weeks I'm gone.
work.
And the banquets.
You don't do work.
I try not to work.
That's the goal. That's the dream.
That's the dream of everyone's lives. Boys, we are 57 days away from La Malbaie.
I thought you were going to say the road show. For
Okay, no,
Chinois.
but it's not. It's
No.
much sooner. You need to know that.
No. We're doing the countdown from La Malbaie, boys and girls.
Yeah, because nobody cares about smoke meat when you're going to get put in at a 5-star hotel.
Yeah, we got to get that figured out, eh, boys? Those Eagle and I going to be bunking together.
That's true. It's possible.
I am not sleeping with you, Mo.
I'm a terrible sleeper. I move a lot.
Also, like, consent matters, Mo.
I know.
So you said no already.
Eagle.
That's some 20th century shit right there.
No.
Come on.
Anyway, it'll be Peas and Iggy next week.
Yep.
Maybe you guys go 4 hours.
Probably. With my lack of discipline and his not shutting the hell up, it'll be 4 hours.
We're going to do a media mailbag too, so
Oh, boy.
Be fun.
We're looking at a 5-hour show then.
Let's go. Let's do it. Extra
All right.
content. FBF Plus.
On to the NBA. Here we go.
Slip it, put another smile